Again.
Disaster.
We were muted. Try again. Wait.
Take two. What is up, team? And welcome back to another episode of the Technical Foul Podcast. You're joined by the three of us today. I'm Jack Anderson. To my left is one Sanders Oakley, and then to my right is JP Pusilowski. It's a very special episode today. The second annual bracket
Is this our
extravaganza for us.
second annual
It is
show?
our second annual show, which is very special. The first one's probably one of my favorite shows we've done in the show's history. The moment where me and JP got to overrule your Florida pick with the Crab 5. Just glorious.
Who's right?
We were right in theory.
We were right, actually.
If their coach doesn't have one foot out the door, they win that game.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll believe that till I die. But bracket extravaganza today. We're gonna go through and joint pick a bracket. There's three of us, so just majority moves on with the caveat in the first round. Everyone gets one veto.
Yeah.
Of like, oh, the team I wanted to win lost. Screw y'all. I play my trump card. The team I want to move on moves on. Before we get to that, though, we'll see how fast we move through that. But it's Monday, so we just had another week of Mississippi State sports, and so Sanders is going to walk us through how the C-ball, hit-ball sports went, because that's really all that's left, and that may be for the best.
Yeah, it is all that's left. I'm going to pull up my notes for it real quick because it was – I'm going to move fast because, we have our whole bracket to get to.
Before we get there, I jumped a step. How are y'all doing? Are y'all
Great.
excited?
Ready to talk about Mississippi State sports and March Madness.
Sure.
I'm doing great.
Bet.
Three of my favorite Tier 2 R6 creators, which Tier 2 would be like AAA in baseball compared to the MLB. They all qualified to make the MLB, essentially, of the North American League.
That's fire.
This week. So it's really cool to see that, because a lot of them are just guys who post stuff on TikTok and do that on the side, and they also have to work real jobs because they're not getting paid enough money yet.
Yeah.
Now they'll get paid enough money to where they don't have to work and they can just focus on Pro League. So that was really cool to watch this week.
That is sick.
Yeah, it felt like cheering for your own kind of Cinderella kind of story.
Yeah.
Although when you're competing to get into the MLB, you're just competing against AAA teams to get there, so they haven't upset anyone yet. But they might be able to pull some upsets in the upcoming season.
And it's still kind of it's like you discovered them first. You were on them before they got big, and so that's a good feeling too. Of these are my day ones, kind of. So
Mont has already said he's fading our bracket pick. So,
based on how we did last year, that probably is not the worst idea. As long as you caveat I'm not going to go the 16 seeds.
Yeah, that's the only issue is you got to. But then at that point, you're not really fading us. You're just doing your own bracket.
Well, if you were I'm going to every upset they pick, I'm going to not pick that upset or something like that.
That's fair. But if you Josh Pate talks about how he'll do his ramen noodle express.
Yeah.
And then people will be like, man, I lost money this week and you said I was supposed to make money. And then he's like, well, what bets did you? Well, it's I took half your bets and I faded the other half. He's like, well, what half? Well, I hit on the half that I tailed and missed on the half that I faded. It's like, well, then you didn't follow the ramen noodle express. You just placed.
I did not lose. He actually made you money.
Yeah, exactly.
You were right on the ones that you followed him on. So.
Yeah. Mont said he's not fading just for fun. He's usually with us. So he's not with me. He already saw on my Be Real, I was working on my model, and my model has picked its best team, and he told me that it was not the correct team to pick. So
cool.
We shall see how that plays out.
We shall. Let's get to Mississippi State sports though. Let's see how
dive in.
The C-ball hit ball sports did.
It was another good week of the C-ball hit ball sports for Mississippi State. Technically, the other sports were there is news. Mississippi State men's basketball lost the opening round of the SEC tournament to Auburn and Keyshawn Murphy, and finished the season on a 6-game losing streak. They do not make the tournament of any kind.
Shout out Keyshawn Murphy for also not making the tournament.
Correct.
Just want to toss that out there.
Correct. Twitter, that's been said by many burners on Twitter over the last 4 to 5 days, but say it again. That's fine. It's 2027 basketball season now for Mississippi State and Auburn. So Women's basketball also, they did not go 0-1, but they finished the game on a season on a 5-game losing streak and do not make the postseason of any kind.
Not even the NIT?
I don't think
Did y'all decline? Or?
I think we had to have declined because I didn't see us in the NIT.
Yeah, I just don't see y'all falling that far to where you don't make the NIT.
There was, I think, a 16-16 Missouri made it,
Yeah.
and we were 18-14, and we had some pretty big wins. So I think it was.
Declined then.
I think we probably declined it. But now for the good sports, the C-ball, hit-ball sports, as we are a C-ball, hit-ball school. Baseball goes 2-2. We started off the week with an electric comeback Tuesday evening in Biloxi. The broadcast was not electric, but the game was. And talking to people who were there, the Ace Reese Grand Slam was incredible. We were down 7-2 in the bottom of the 7th, and then a 7-run inning, which included that Ace Reese Grand Slam, gave us the lead. And then Tulane didn't score again. We ended up winning 11-7. So we scored 9 unanswered runs. And then this weekend, we went up to Arkansas to open SEC play. Lost the game Friday night, and then Saturday played a doubleheader, I believe, due to weather. But we played a doubleheader on Saturday. Game 1, the offense looked the same as it has through the first 15 or so games. It looked great. And then Game 2, we end up losing. I can't remember the exact score. End up losing Game 3, and a lot of people were blaming it on
9-2 or something like that.
Yeah, blame 7-2. I think they had 7.
Yeah.
Some people were blaming it on like the pitching, not the pitching, but the behind the plate play. And I just have in my notes that we've now lost 2 games due to wild pitches and pass balls. And then I would say that the Game 3 loss to Arkansas was not due to that, given we lost by 5. But you could argue that if that happens, we don't fall apart. And I think we had a 5 or 6 run inning that we gave up that started with like the number of strike 3 wild pitches where the guy safely advances to first has been like crazy to me. Because like every time I feel like it's pretty standard that when the ball's in the dirt, the guy's not getting to first. That's the norm, I would say.
Yes.
I feel like on average, if we've got a drop strike 3, they are reaching first safely. And I don't know if our pitchers just have that much like.
Who's the catcher?
It's been 2 different catchers.
Who?
Sean James and Andrew Raymond. Both of them
Do either of them
sophomores.
hit at least?
All right, not great. Our third option at catcher, Kevin Maluski, has been hurt, I believe, for the majority of the start of this season. So I feel like the catching situation is still like I think it'll get figured out ideally.
Sure.
Hopefully Kevin Maluski gets healthy and he plays like he was supposed to. He's a huge guy too. Like he's supposed to bring a lot of power for a catcher. He can throw guys out as second. So hopefully he gets to 100% and kind of brings some consistency to that position. The other C-ball, hitball, diamond sport, softball went 3-2. I worked the softball game Tuesday. My boss texted me last Sunday and said, "Hey, do you want to work softball?" I said, "Sure, I'll be there." I get there, and she's like, "Okay, like here's what you're gonna do, for the game, and then it'll end, and then we'll start game 2." And I go, "Game 2?" She goes, "Yeah, it's a doubleheader. I didn't tell you because I was worried you'd say no and wouldn't work." So that's how I got tricked into working 2 softball games. But I had a blast. It was a fun Tuesday games, and then the weekend was awesome. Number 1 Tennessee comes into town. They have not lost a game. Game 1 was incredible. Tennessee had 4 hits. We had 1, and neither of us had scored a run through the first 8 innings. In the top of the 9th, Tennessee had a 2-out, 3-run home run to go up 3-0. Taylor Troutman hits a leadoff home run in the next, and it was like, wow, now the bats come to life. Tennessee wins that game 3-1. We answer in game 2, 0-all in the 7th. Taylor Troutman hits her second home run of the series, this time a walk-off home run. And then game 3, the pitching staff for Tennessee was just elite, and we end up losing that game. But we set a single-game regular season record for News Park on campus for us. So that was really cool. The game we were behind is a super regional game from a couple of years ago.
Gotcha.
And then we also set a 3-day period record for News Park. So
Shout
a couple
out.
of records were set. We're still ranked 13th via Softball America, so the softball team didn't really fall in anyone's estimation due to that loss. Like I said, Tennessee's been incredible. We gave them their first loss of the season this weekend, so that's really cool. And then in the final C-ball, hitball sports, men's and women's tennis. Men's tennis goes 2-0 and continues kind of their dominant run. They go to number 14 South Carolina, win that 4-3. They go to number 22 Florida and win that 4-3. And then women's tennis goes 1-1 on the week. A tough loss to Vanderbilt. They win the doubles and go up 1-0. And I really thought they had a chance. They were winning several of their matches.
Matches,
Courts.
yeah.
It would be courts would be the correct. I think they were winning on several courts, but they end up losing that game to Vanderbilt, which was tough. But they bounced back and beat Missouri on Sunday, and they're now 13-5 and 2-5 in conference play, which doubles their conference win total from the previous 3 years combined, going 0-15 last year, 1-12, and 0-13 the 2 years before that. So
Hey, it's only looking up.
double the conference win total from the previous 3 years combined, and if we get one more win, it will be the most conference wins we've had in a season since 2018 or 2019. That season. So it's trending up. I think that they have a real argument for the most improved team on campus.
I don't know. The football team's turnaround was quite impressive.
Yes.
According to who?
I'm talking about doubling wins. They doubled their win total.
But if you ask the consensus of state students,
That you make a good point, but you ask the consensus of state students, they go, "We have a women's tennis team."
This is true. This is why I'm trying to let the state students know that we have a women's tennis team, and they're not elite yet, but they're getting better. They might be the most improved team. I also think there's an
They're probably the
argument
most
to be
improved team.
made for the baseball team being the most improved, not because they were really, really bad, but because they are hopefully very, very good now.
Yeah.
So you have to look at where they were and where they are now. So
Do y'all see FanDuel Sports was throwing Mississippi State shade today?
mm-mm.
They put out a graphic and it was like, I don't remember what the headline is, but it was like the only teams to not make a bowl game or have their women's or men's basketball team make the tournament. So they definitely just like went and looked at all the 5 and 7 or worse football teams.
Yeah.
Because they put out a thing. They're like, yeah, we're aware Mississippi State made a bowl game, but since they were 5 and 7, and it was like, no, y'all just clearly
Yeah.
goofed.
Yeah, that's stupid.
But they throw some unnecessary shade because shout out the academic weapons that is Mississippi State's football team. They made a bowl game.
Yep. So that is your Mississippi State weekly update, and we will be back next week, and we'll get to talk about our first home series of conference play
Yeah.
for baseball, and hopefully our first conference win or conference series win for softball as well.
Cool. Well, now we can get to the why most people are here. Obviously, there's a ton of people that
All three of
love,
them. Most people.
Mississippi State sports, but nevertheless, this is one of the biggest weeks of the year. The opening week of March Madness games will obviously start legitimately Thursday. You have the first 4 games. There's one Tuesday and there's one Wednesday. But no, the real, Sunday, Thursday at 10:25. We like the first tip off or something like
Something
that.
like that, yeah.
yeah,
I can actually check because it's 11:15. Ohio State TCU is the first game.
That's a shocker for the first game.
It's
Or a
always
tough
an
pick.
8-9. It's always an 8-9, and I feel like they always try and choose one that's heavily contested. The spread is Ohio State minus 4.5. We'll get to that in a minute, though. I'm assuming we're just starting top left and working through the regions.
Yeah, I think the best way to do it will be to go top left all the way to the Final Four,
Sure.
and then work our way so that when in post, I can just make each region a video.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah. So with that being said, I'll just once again reiterate the rules that are pretty simple. It's a joint bracket, so we're all 3 making one bracket, and there's 3 of us, so it works out odd number. Majority rules. Whoever gets 2 votes, or if someone gets 3 votes, they move on. With the caveat, in the first round, everyone gets 1 veto. So if you really
Correct.
like a pick and you got outvoted, you can veto, and your person will move through. And there's no vetoing a veto.
Yep.
So that being said,
Do we think that JP loses a vote this year?
I think he does. I think it's pretty unlikely that he goes perfect
Yeah.
again.
That means you 63 games, right? That you picked
Yeah, 63 games because we don't pick the first 4 games.
that either me or
Did
Jack.
he not lose a pick the whole way, or was it
Correct.
just first? Okay, yeah. Yeah,
He
that's,
did not
that's definitely unlikely.
It was my bracket.
It was his. It
so
was
we have a
in-
good excuse then. He screwed us up.
literally. Your bracket was wrong.
We should have been better about overruling him then.
I mean, yes, it was wrong. I had a really bad year last year.
That's tough. Hey, I lost to all of my family
I
members.
mean, I'm not gonna lie. I'm just really bad in general.
I
Did we have Maryland win the whole
We
thing?
did have Maryland win the whole thing.
And they made this Sweet 16
They
or a round of 32.
they made the Sweet 16 and then lost.
Well, that's good. Typically, my
To
champion
Florida.
doesn't make it out of the first weekend. So
Did Creighton make it this year?
Creighton did not make it this year, so
Yep.
me and Jackson are gonna have to put it. We've decided, for reference, me and a friend make a bracket where Creighton wins it every year, regardless of seed. We've decided we're gonna pick a team that we think embodies Creighton the most.
Mm-hmm.
So like current front runners, like maybe we have a bracket where Iowa wins it because
Okay.
like same region, same.
But
kind of
doesn't
feel
Michigan
around
just have
school.
the Creighton player from last year?
Not to my knowledge.
No. Okay, never mind. Never mind.
Um,
Then ignore what I said.
So, we may go with Iowa or someone like that because they're like I think Iowa's a 9 seed, so like similar
Yeah.
feel. Without further ado, let's get this underway. Anyone want to take Siena in the 1v16 in the East region, Duke versus Siena?
Well, I have a question for you guys. Do you guys know what Siena's mascot is?
Bulldog?
It's definitely not. So we can see their logo, and I can tell you, it looks like a beagle to me. That's definitely not a bulldog.
Is it like a terrier or the terriers?
It's not a terrier. It's
Okay.
not a bulldog. Not a beagle.
Okay,
Yeah.
hold on. Let me sit on this then.
Oh, well,
I mean, there's only so many dogs.
Saint Bernard.
It's the Saints.
Is it actually?
It's a Saint
Siena
Bernard.
Saints.
That was just a like.
What a snipe.
Yeah, I thought it was. I thought it was the Royals earlier for whatever reason, but that I just got Royals and Saints confused. Kind of the same kind of similar
Both
vein.
have some air and prestige around them.
But it is the Siena Saints. From I think they're from the Big West, maybe. I should know that more. But Duke versus Siena, obviously. I mean, what does the model?
They're
have?
from the MAAC.
Okay, that is one of the worst conferences in collegiate basketball, Division One.
Hence how they drew Duke first round.
This is correct. This, if I'm also not mistaken, this is Siena's first tournament appearance in a very long time. And they draw the number 1 overall seed, Duke Blue Devils. Does anyone want to pick Siena? I'm gonna pick Duke personally.
I'm also picking Duke.
Yes, I'll be picking Duke as well.
All right, well, that moves on the Duke Blue Devils. We'll talk more in depth about them and their tournament as we move into the next round. But we will now go to Ohio State and TCU, which, as Jack mentioned, is the first game of the official first round, the round of 64. The Ohio State Buckeyes, they're led by Marcus Thornton, who is the leading scorer in Ohio State Buckeye history.
Yep, 2,000 plus career points.
He's been kind of like tabbed as a guy who could have a March Madness run as a player. He averages 20 points per game. Bruce Thornton, not Marcus Thornton. Sorry, I got him confused with the NBA
There's a lot
player.
of names.
Marcus Thornton. Ohio State lost to Michigan in the Big Ten quarterfinals in that tournament versus the TCU Horned Frogs. TCU has also kind of been talked about as a sleeper team for a lot of people as well. They have 7 guys that score 8 points or more per game for them. Very spread out. A lean ways here early.
I mean, it's an 8-9, so obviously it's like pretty tight, but it is also just a bit of a clash of styles in that Ohio State's going to look to score the ball a ton. They're powered through their guards, and TCU is not at all built to score. They're 81st in offensive rating on KenPom, but they're 22nd in defensive rating. They're very strong and physical at the point of attack defensively, so it's kind of a strength on strength. So it just kind of depends on who you're feeling. I'll go TCU. I think I'll pick TCU here. They've picked up some big wins. If you go to like notable results and stuff, now they also have some bad losses, right? So you could look at it either way.
Hey, let's not sleep
they
on
beat
that
Florida.
Southland Conference.
They beat Iowa State. They have a win against Texas Tech on the road. Games like that.
Close loss to Michigan. They played Michigan very
Yeah.
close in a time when Michigan, I believe, was dominating. Right, like to start the season,
Michigan was on
Michigan
fire.
was like dominant out of the gate. They lose that game by 4 early in the season. So, yeah, there is some validity to their schedule. I have my pick. If y'all want me to go ahead and make it, I can kick it off.
I already took TCU.
Oh, sorry.
but
Well, okay.
you're
Well, then
welcome to your
perfect
pick.
because I would pick Ohio State, which means
Oh,
JP
boy.
will have the deciding vote. I'm going with Ohio State. So I have a model that I've been working on for all the sports, but I've been applying it to basketball, and it looks at your relative performance. It looks at how you perform against teams versus how you would be expected. So if a team allows 60 points a game on average and you score 80, that's that
Yeah.
is good for your offense. Ohio State has the 44th ranked offense and 95th ranked defense, whereas TCU has the 111th ranked offense. Just like you said, bad offense from TCU. That's like a third of the way down, right? 365 teams in college basketball. So they're about 9-10 spots away from being in the second third of college basketball. So I'll be going Ohio State because I think that their offense will outperform TCU's offense and be able to score some points in that defense, which means, JP, you have the deciding vote.
I think with such an early tip, I think it leans more defensively. I think of Mississippi State played Michigan State with an early tip 2 years ago, and we got started. We started off so slow. I also think just experience in the tournament can help you there. And TCU's been there more often than Ohio State in recent years. Ohio State, if I'm not mistaken, this is their first tournament since they lost to Oral Roberts back in the COVID tournament when they were a 2 seed. Ended up losing to 15 seed Oral Roberts. I'm going to go with TCU. I think they have the more the upside. I think with them being defensive led, they'll be ready for that early tip off more so than Ohio State will be. So I'll take TCU to win that one and advance to the round of 32.
Cool. Any veto, Sanders?
No.
Okay. That's it's smart, I would say. Smart to save. On to the next matchup, 5v12. So always a trendy spot for an upset, but it's St. John's versus Northern Iowa. St. John's ended the year hot. They won the Big East tournament, knocking off UConn. Started off the year slow. I mean, realistically, I think they had 6 or 7 losses coming into conference play. And then, they lost 2 conference games, so they finished 18-2 down the stretch, led by Zuby Ejiofor, fantastic defender. Bryce Hopkins is there as well. He transferred in. Another fantastic defender. I mean, it's classic St. John's under Rick Pitino, right, of hard-nosed defense. Not always the prettiest offense. Looking at KenPom ratings here, 12th best defense according to KenPom and 44th best offense. So they're a tough team. And then for Northern Iowa, let me find them in my notes. I made sure for all the mid-majors, I have like one good thing to say and one player. Top scoring defense, bottom 5 in pace. So honestly, if you like tune in this game, there's a world where the game is mega slow and St. John's doesn't blow them out score-wise, but maybe still looks like they're dominating them. But, it's not like St. John's wants to play really fast either. And they can shoot a bit. That's really it. They're led by Trey Campbell. He's their leading scorer. He averages 2 steals a game, 44% from the floor. Personally, I like St. John's here a lot. I think they're hot. This is not one of the 5-12s I'm really looking at. So I don't know if either of y'all disagree or have any thoughts on this matchup. But
Northern Iowa's got some history in the tournament. Of course, you remember their long half-court shot buzzer beater to beat Texas.
Yep.
The last time I remember Northern Iowa in the tournament, at least.
Followed by
the Caruso Texas A&M game.
Their collapse.
The collapse at the end. Yes, you're right. I think with it's 2 paces and 2 styles of basketball that really are very, very similar. Like you said, Northern Iowa, super slow team. They're the 363rd team in pace, and there are 365 teams in collegiate basketball, so unbelievably slow. I do think like that lends towards them having potentially a better chance if this game they're going to be comfortable playing in a game that's 50-50 going into the final 5 minutes. I just question if they'll get that far. I think St. John's experience will carry them on here. They're playing really, really hot too. They've won 13 of the last 14, give or take, including blowing out the 2 seed UConn twice. Albeit both of those games were technically home games. One literally was at St. John's. The other was in the Garden, which is their pseudo home court. I like St. John's here as well. Northern Iowa isn't one of those teams I think that can pull off the upset just with the lack of pace. Even though they match up well in terms of playing the same style as St. John's, I do like St. John's here to win in this first round game. Sanders?
Yeah, I would also go St. John's here. So pace is how slow you play, right?
Yeah.
And so in a slower paced game, there's going to be less points scored, right?
Mhm.
Which would lead to more variance, right, JP? Right? That's what
no, that would
it would lead to.
minimize.
No, it would lead to more variance in outcome. That's
It would minimize. No.
No, I think it would be more variance in outcome. This is the point I was going to bring up. But like, if the game is really slow, every like shot matters more. So like, if Northern Iowa
Okay.
just hits a couple big
I see what you
threes,
mean,
then
yes.
like those feel much more impactful
Yes,
than a
yes,
game
you're right,
playing
yeah.
Alabama, where
Correct.
it's like,
exactly.
okay, well we just went on a little mini 6-0 run where we hit back-to-back threes, but it doesn't really matter because Alabama's going to shoot.
That's
40.
not my use of the word variance. I think that's how we used it talking about maybe the Seahawks defense. But that to say that in a lower scoring game, there are more outcomes where Northern Iowa wins in all likelihood. Where
Yes.
the less offensive team is going to win. There's more outcomes where that plays out. But I don't think this is not that day, to quote King Theoden from Lord of the Rings.
Sure.
This is not that day. So I will also go St. John's.
Cool. Now we're on to the 4-13. Kansas versus California Baptist. And this is one of the teams I was talking to JP before the show. I had no idea California Baptist was the Lancers. The more you know. I'm not even really sure I knew California Baptist was a school. Like, it makes sense in my head. I saw the name, like, yeah, sure. But the fact they're dancing is pretty impressive. When's the last time they've been? I wonder if I can find that real quick. Doesn't say.
While you do,
Doesn't
well
say.
then you go ahead. I'll look it up.
No, you can go ahead.
I was just going to talk about a little bit about Kansas. I mean,
Sure.
this is going to be, and maybe we save this conversation for a more notable matchup, right? The Darren Peterson conversation, because he's a very talented player who we hope to see like really show up and shine in March Madness. But we can have that conversation later. I'll go ahead and start it off by saying that Kansas has a top 25 defense according to my model. I don't know where they are on KenPom, but they've got a top 25 defense.
10.
And California Baptist has the 233rd ranked offense. So this could get ugly. It could be a game where Cal Baptist scores like 40, 45, 50 points. I don't know what they're averaging a game, but like that's not good. And so I mean, this is not the game I'm going to be picking my upset. I'll say that for certain. I'll be going Kansas.
Yeah, it's fair. The thing I have about Cal Baptist is they defend and rebound pretty well for a lower seeded team. But then it's like, okay, but are you going to really be able to defend and rebound well against Kansas? It's a bit of a different animal. And then their offensive concerns could really come back to bite them. I'll look up real quick what their points per game.
The best opponent that Cal Baptist has faced is BYU, and they lost that game. I would say the best opponent they faced. Maybe y'all would disagree, but that kind of stands out. They lost to them 91-60 in a neutral site game. So
now, Cal Baptist leading scorer Dominic Daniels does average 23 points per game at a whopping 5'10".
Whoa.
So,
That sounds familiar. Sounds like somebody we know.
maybe he'll use that good old Baptist free will to, decide to make a bunch of shots and knock it down.
Maybe he will. Maybe he will.
I'm going Kansas, though.
All right.
I get the other inconsistencies, but I think they're too talented and their defense is good enough that they're not going to fall prey to the Lancers.
Yep.
To touch on the Darren Peterson conversation, I think it's a moot point now because it's a one-game season going forward. And so I refuse to believe he'll sit out.
It's not more of a sitting out thing. It's a thing of sometimes when he plays, they're really good, and sometimes when he doesn't play, they look better, and then sometimes when he doesn't play, they look terrible. And then it's more of like just their team as a whole has become a bit of a you don't really know what you're going to get from
I
game
think
to game.
the one trend I do see is they struggle away from home.
Yeah.
They really do struggle away from home. They struggled in the conference tournament. And then when they played on the road throughout this year. So the neutral site games, I think, are a concern for them. I don't think it matters here in the first round. I would take Kansas still over California Baptist. But I do think going forward, it is a bit of a concern for them. For a team that has one of the, there's 10 to 15 unbelievable freshmen this year. For the team that has one of them, if not the freshman, I do think it doesn't affect them here in the first round and affects them further down the road.
Yeah. large picture wise, it is really hard to want to pick this Kansas team to make a deep run because they are someone that they could just show up and really lay an egg. They've done that semi consistently this season. I don't think you've officially picked, unless I missed it.
I did. I
You
picked
did
Kansas.
Okay,
I
so
said-
we're all in Kansas.
Yep.
Kansas advances. We're chalked there. Next matchup is Louisville versus South Florida. South Florida, the American, has become already a bit of a darling pick. Analytically, they grade out pretty well. They have both, I think it's like a top 40 or top, maybe not quite that high, offense and defense. They go up against Louisville, who is very much led by their backcourt. Michael Brown is there. Ryan Conwell is also in that backcourt, which Michael Brown has missed time. He didn't play in the ACC tournament, but when doing research, it looks like he's going to be ready to go.
The word is hopes.
Hope. That's
Hopes
not really what
to.
you want to hear. I'm not going to lie. Even in terms of like, okay, maybe he will play then, but he's at 80%. But they really are led by their backcourt. They only have one starter above 6'6", and he's 6'11", which is big. But they really do play small. They're going to shoot a ton of threes. They shoot 32.3 threes a game, which is the fourth most in the country. And then also, I think probably due to a bit of lack of size, they foul a ton defensively. So that's kind of where you're looking at from Louisville. And then back to South Florida. Once again, they've kind of become a little darling already. Like a lot of people are on them. They're top 15 in pace. They play really fast. They get all over the offensive glass. They're going to force some turnovers, a lot of steals. And so it's kind of just like, yeah, what do you think? Maybe that aggressive play style does, catch Louisville like in a weak point in terms of they can get after their backcourt and pressure Louisville's backcourt, and the front court isn't going to be able to help them. Or maybe Louisville's like, no, Michael Brown and Ryan Conwell are too good. The aggressiveness doesn't bother them. What are your thoughts here?
So South Florida, so they've played 3 tournament teams so far this year. They played VCU,
Yeah.
Utah State, and Alabama. They beat Utah State, albeit that game was the only game they had at home. But they were able to score with Alabama. At Alabama,
Yeah.
they lost by just 11, 104-93. This is like, you compare this to the St. John's Northern Iowa game, it'll look like a completely different sport is being played. These are two of the faster-paced teams, which I think is why a lot of people are leaning on South Florida. A big part of that is also the Michael Brown question marks. I'm going to take the Bulls. I think they get it done. I think they win this game. I'm going to go with what is kind of being viewed as a chalky upset pick at this point. South Florida is just a 5.5-point dog. I also think them playing, this is going to be a 12:30 game on Friday. Them playing early in the day, I think, is going to help them as well.
Yeah.
As opposed to Louisville. So I think I'll take the Bulls to upset the Cardinals. What say y'all?
I'm right there with you. I have the Bulls for multiple reasons. One, I legitimately think it could happen because of the strength of their team. I'm not an ACC believer this year. Not many people are. A lot of people view it as a weaker year for the ACC. So I'm not the biggest fan of Louisville because of that. The Michael Brown health issue we've already mentioned. But then also, realistically, I don't see either of these teams going on a crazy big run. So, I'm good to take an upset. I feel pretty confident here when, realistically, either team is probably losing in the round of 32 or maybe, they get to the Sweet 16 and no further. Risky to pick that way because all of a sudden y'all could just get on the South Florida train, and I didn't have a chance to nip it in the bud when I did. But no, I feel very good taking the Bulls here.
My motto would favor Louisville, excuse me. Well, no, Louisville. Louisville,
Yes.
Mississippi.
Yes.
Man, Louisville, Mississippi, Louisville, Kentucky.
Stupidest thing ever, man.
Yeah, growing up around here is tough. But my motto would pick Louisville. But,
Do you have spreads with your model?
yes,
What's the spread?
give me a sec. It would be... I got to put it in, so you got to yap for like 5 seconds.
The Vegas spread per ESPN
Yes.
is at least it's 5.5 points.
Sure.
In favor of Louisville. Like we said, this is a 12:30 game. It's on Friday. It'll be played in Buffalo, New York.
Which logo do you prefer?
I always liked the Cardinals logo. The Louisville
Yeah.
logo is really sick.
It's a classic logo,
One
for
of
sure.
the local high schools stole that logo, and we beat them every year in basketball. So
What's the... what'd you have? What's your spread?
5.5.
5.5 per Vegas in favor of Louisville.
I have Louisville 2.5.
So your model favors South Florida,
Yes.
but you're
I
gonna pick Louisville.
Not to win, but they do favor South Florida. to cover.
correct to favor South Florida to cover by 3 points, and that's with no home court. I assume that because it's a neutral site game, which we can get into that later because there's one game that isn't really a neutral site game. Bookmark that, put a pin in it. But no, obviously no home court advantage baked into that. I have Louisville as the 13th ranked power ranked team in college basketball going into this. I'm not going to list out the power rankings because that would just, it's not relevant right now, but I can also give that if y'all want going forward. I can give my models spreads, which would be the first time we've talked about my model spreads on this show, 4 games going forward. The one game I tested it against, it's worked. One basketball game. It was a women's basketball game like 3 weeks ago that I was like, what would my model say? And it picked it right. And it was like, picked it right by a point. It was like very
dead on.
close. Yeah, it dialed it in. But we're all on Louisville.
Yes.
No, excuse me. I'm on Louisville. Y'all are both on South Florida. But I don't hate the pick, so we can move on.
Sure. Cool. Well, go Bulls. On to the 3 seed versus 14 seed matchup in the East. It's Michigan State and Mike Izzo, veterans at this point of the tournament. Not just Izzo, but some of the players on his roster. They'll face off against 14 seed North Dakota State, winners of the Summit League, I believe. A couple things on Michigan State. Kind of what you come to expect from Michigan State team under Izzo at this point, and they play really well and really disciplined defensively and really physical defensively. And then offensively, they're fine and they're good, but they're not really shot makers. They're, it can get a little ugly, but they're going to crash the glass, grab a lot of offensive rebounds. They're 7th in offensive rebounding percentage. They get 37.1% of their misses, and they're 1st in defensive rebounding percentage. So they end possessions consistently off of one shot on the defensive end. But, yeah, they're not the best shot makers, so it can get ugly at times. But they're led by Jeremy Fears, averaging 16, 9, and 2. 9 assists. I think he leads the Big Ten in assists. I do have here wear a cup. He may try and knee you or kick you in the balls.
Yep.
So just North Dakota State, maybe watch out for that. And then Jackson Kohler and Cohen Carr are both still there as well, kind of supplementing Jeremy Fears and taking advantage of what Jeremy Fears gives them in terms of as a point guard. And then North Dakota State, my notes here, they're actually pretty deep for a Summit League team. They have a lot of scorers, but it's the Summit League. It's not necessarily the highest level play. Their leading scorer is Damari Wheeler Thomas, which I think is a pretty cool name. But he only averages 14 points a game, which kind of goes back to them being a bit of a deep team.
But how many guys
lot
do
of
they
people
have
get
that
it
average
done.
more than 10?
4.
4 guys that average more than 10?
Yeah.
What is that? Is 5? Is that the? Or was it like I remember last year you made a big deal just as however many, like as many guys as you could.
I mean, as many as you can, then get like over 8
Yeah.
a game.
Yeah.
It's pretty solid.
Anything on that matchup? Anything to add about either of those teams?
This is the smallest spread per Vegas of the 3-14 matchups, so
Sure.
it is the closest to being a potential upset. Michigan State is only favored by 16.5, which is surprising. Consider the 3 seeds. I mean, Mark Few, a lot of people pick against Gonzaga just because he hasn't gotten far in the tournament. They make the Sweet 16 almost every year. Virginia with the new head coach and their first year there. Illinois, and then Michigan State and Gonzaga. Those are your 4 3 seeds. Michigan State's got the lowest spread,
You said 16.5?
16.5.
Okay. I'll also throw out a couple things. So I have like 6 metrics that I look at for a team, and Michigan State is top 20 in 5 of the 6 metrics, and then the final metric they're 76th in, which is relative offense versus defense, which kind of goes like, and you said like you said the missed shot stuff like that. Like they just are not going to score as many points as you might expect against opponents.
They're close to a Buzz Williams offense. I won't go as far to label them that because that is offensive.
It is.
But there are some times where it's like their lucky offensive rebounds are a thing. Because if for some reason there's a world where it's like playing 1v1 in the gym and it's like just it ends on a missed shot, they'd be in trouble.
Yeah, I only have them scoring 5 points above average against opponents, so that's why my spread for this game is actually a little bit lower. It's 6.5, so a lot lower.
Whoa.
Wow.
Which this might we're not picking the spread. If it was, it might have to be a veto if y'all pick Michigan State. But my model does still have Michigan State winning, so I'll pick Michigan State.
Yeah, I'm with Michigan State here.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Michigan State as well. This is March after all. Izzo does really well. That being said, they are the last school in the Big Ten to win a national championship.
Wow.
Him winning it in 2000. So he's kind of holding the legacy at least this point for the Big Ten, and the other programs haven't really taken him over. I think he'll get it done and defeat North Dakota State. But I do like North Dakota State plus the points.
Sure.
Both per Sanders model, and it just feels like a closer game with these two teams matchup wise.
Yeah. All right, we're nearing the end of the round of 64 in the East, but we have the 7 versus 10 matchup. 7 seed UCLA versus 10 seed UCF. And the first thing I want to say is, if you just like followed along on Twitter or like ESPN or something, you probably would think UCLA like had a horrible season because like all it was Mick Cronin going scorched earth in post game conferences, getting mad at reporters, basically trashing his own team. Basically talking about the level of play being unacceptable. And yet here they are. They sit here as a 7 seed. For most people and most teams, that's like, oh, that's a great season. And then
I would have taken that.
Yeah, the 10 seed here is UCF. Shout out Mississippi State legend Riley Kugel for returning to the dance. Big things for him. The one thing I'll lead off with, and then I'll kick it to y'all and ask for y'all thoughts. Some UCLA's banged up. Donovan Dent is injured. Tyler Bilodeau, I don't know if I pronounced that last name right, but I think I did. He is also banged up. Both should be good for the NCAA tournament, but just something to keep an eye on. If you're looking to pick them, they play slow. It's just classic Mick Cronin. They're going to play slow. They actually shoot the 3 ball really well, but they're 252nd in attempts. So it's kind of a thing of they're not really scoring a ton from 3, but when they get the good looks and they do take them, they're pretty good about knocking them down. And then they don't turn the ball over, which is very Donovan Dent. That's why you bring him in. That's why you pay him the money, pay him the NIL to transfer. But y'all thoughts on this matchup?
I mean, look out for Riley Kugel, March Madness star.
Yeah.
But no, the one player for UCF I am excited to see in a March atmosphere is hopefully he plays John Bull, 7'2", another one of the Bull kids for UCF.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's 7'2", averages 6 and 6 a game. He only plays about 18 minutes, but those can be some exciting 18 minutes because it's something about basketball where there is just such a difference between 7'2" and 7 foot. You can really just tell when you see it on the screen. And so someone to watch out for is John Bull. I do like UCLA, though, in this game. I do think they're a team that, with their experience, now that's more so their experience in their coaching staff in tournament runs and playing in the NCAA tournament and everything around preparing for the game and all that. I think it favors them pretty well here. I also just I want to see the all-time ref matchup of Hurley and Cronin in the second round, and a competition of who's going to get thrown out first.
I think I'd have to call in sick if I was the head ref that day. Just be like, nope, I'm not doing this.
So I'm gonna go UCLA. I say all that to say that.
What's the spread on that game?
Spread is 5.5. It's actually of the 7-10 matchups, it's the biggest spread in favor of UCLA.
Okay, I've got UCLA -3. So my spreads have favored the underdog in every game so far.
Yeah.
But I'll also go UCLA here. So that puts them through. Did you already pick Jack?
I would go with UCF. The injuries scare me a little bit. Obviously, they could be just totally fine. It's a bit of an overreaction. But also, I really like UCF's coach, Johnny Dawkins. I really like what he does there. I'm excited to see him back. I think this is their first appearance since they lost by 1 to Duke in that kind of instant classic where it was Taco Fall versus Zion Williamson.
Yeah, they had 3 chances right there at the rim. They missed 2 tip-ins.
Because Johnny Dawkins' son, Aubrey Dawkins, I think, had a 30-piece, but he missed the putback. But yeah, so I do maybe have a little sentimental attachment to UCF because of that game. But I'm not going to veto it. I'm fine with UCLA to move on. And that gets us to the last matchup here.
Does
Go ahead.
Riley Kugel have a NCAA tournament win? Because
No, because I think he lost when he was at Florida the
Yep.
year they went. Then
Yep.
he lost at State.
and then
He is UCF's leading scorer, though,
really,
and at 14.4 points per game. So.
and then he lost in the NIT, but he had the team high points in their matchup versus UCF.
Wow.
That's crazy in 2022, 2023.
That's
And
when
I
he knew
assume
he
that was his
transferring there.
freshman year. I don't think that he was
Yeah,
the year
I
that
think that's right.
there the year before. So that'll maybe Riley Kugel gets his first ever postseason
Maybe.
win.
Last one, the 2 versus 15, UConn and Dan Hurley versus the Furman Paladins. Shout out one Sophie, future Paladin potentially. Any thoughts? I mean, the last time the Paladins made the tournament, they kind of put off a massive upset against Virginia.
Yep.
Kevin Harlan gave us the iconic call. Kihei Clark chucks the ball into the abyss, and Furman hits the subsequent three-pointer to win. But that was, I think, a 4 versus 13.
It was.
So Furman was a bit more of a quality team, at least seed-wise. Any thoughts that Furman can pull off this upset?
Yes, I
Yes,
do
okay.
think they can. This is a team that is underseeded by the talent that they have. They got hurt throughout the year,
Yeah.
and it hurt them. They ended up falling to the 6th seed in their conference tournament. But then they got healthy, and they ran the table at the conference tournament and made the tournament. Had they been healthy the whole year, they would have won a lot more games. Probably would have been the 1 seed in the SoCon, and you're probably looking at like a 13 seed again instead of a 15 seed.
Sure.
And so they're, for me personally, they're underseeded based on the talent that they have. They're led by the Bowser Bros. They're 2 brothers. Their last name Bowser, which sick last
Yeah, I mean,
name.
Cooper Bowser is just this. You don't beat that.
That is a sick last name. So that there will be part of the all-name team if there was one for this NCAA tournament. That being said, like it's a really tough draw for a team that won the national title 2 years in a row 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But UConn has lost in the first round before, losing to Chris Jans in New Mexico State, a program that does not exist anymore because of all the legal repercussions that occurred the year after Jans left. I actually don't know if they fielded a team this year, but they did not field a team last year.
Interesting.
Crazy.
Because of the legal repercussions. I'm going to pick Furman, but you guys are more than welcome to go ahead and pick UConn. I do think Furman's got a chance to pull off that'll be the first win for a 15 seed since Princeton 2 years ago.
Yeah. I'll start with this because I really do want to pick Furman. Logic is trying to tell me not to. I do think this is not the. I mean, this is obvious. Shocker. This UConn team's not on the quality of their national title winning teams. They're just 30th in offensive rating on KenPom.
They feel like an overseed to the opposite
Agreed.
of Furman.
Agreed. Not major. Like maybe they're
Yeah.
the best 3 seed or something like that. But they played in a weaker conference. We've not seen them play fantastic competition a ton recently. And when they have, I mean, they just lost to St. John's in the Big East title game. They lost to Creighton. Creighton's not very good this year. They lost to Marquette down the stretch bad. Marquette's not nearly as good as they normally are this year. I think there's some cracks in this team. And so then it's like, do you trust Dan Hurley as a coach? As well as there is some talent on the team, and they do play good defense. But it's maybe not as great of a squad as we've seen for them in recent years. That being said, it is a plenty good enough team to beat Furman. But I'll ride with you. I'll ride with you on the Paladins.
Oh, wow.
So I'll just that win by them, I guess, 3 years ago now, is cinema. So
Yeah. I really thought that we were going to get JP there and both go UConn, which is who I'll be going.
if this was not the joint bracket, I'm probably not making that pick.
Yeah.
But like seriously, I don't think I care a ton how well this bracket does.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to be stupid about it, but I'm not going to be potentially as conservative as I would be on my own bracket.
Well, I would go UConn here, but it doesn't matter.
If
So-
you're looking for another stat to pick UConn, Furman is 0-3 versus tournament teams this year.
That is tough.
But like I said, they
They
were
were
hurt
beat up.
during that period. They played 3 tournament teams in the span of 2 weeks. They played High Point, Troy, and Northern Iowa, and lost all 3 of them. But they're healthy now, and the Bowser Bros get it done and move on to the round of 32.
yeah, which is
Are you-
where
you're not going to veto?
No.
Okay.
We
Let's-
move on to the round of 32.
Yep. Move on to the round of 32.
Cool.
There we go.
Well, Duke TCU round of 32 matchup 1 versus 9. We didn't really talk about Duke or in the round of 64 matchup just because it was 1v16. So I can go a little more in depth about the quality of Duke and what makes them so great and what makes them a very deserved 1 seed and a very popular pick to win the title. It's their defense. Their defense is so good. Malik Brown is there. Sarr is there as the small forward. Caden Boozer, when he plays, is a pretty solid defender. Cam Boozer's not a bad defender himself, but they're just so big. They're so physical. They have the best defensive rating on KenPom. And then their offense is obviously no slouch, right? I mean, they're number 5 offensive rating in KenPom. That's fantastic. And that's kind of led by Cam Boozer, the hub of their offense. He's not like a point forward per se because it's not like he's always on the perimeter, but he makes great reads out of the post in terms of passing. He can obviously score well out of there. I mean, he's averaging 23, 10, and 4, shooting 58, 41, 78 splits, high usage rate. He's the engine. He's the entire engine of their offense, and they've surrounded him with really good pieces. I'm not trying to say there's not other great pieces on the team. The one concern for them and what I really want to bring up kind of as we get down the line and potentially look at them getting upset, Patrick Ngongba, I don't know if I said that right. He was out for the ACC tournament. One of their centers, another fantastic defender, a key piece for them, as well as Caleb Foster, their starting point guard, broke his foot, and Ngongba should be back for the NCAA tournament, but Caleb Foster, while not officially ruled out for all of the NCAA tournament, he definitely is not playing the first weekend, and I just really struggle to see a guy coming back from a broken foot in time to make any real meaningful impact at all in this tournament. So that's kind of maybe the concern if you're looking to maybe poke holes in a team that literally has lost 2 games all season. That would maybe be the case you'd want to make. Do either of y'all want to make it here?
If there's going to be a team to beat Duke, you're going to have the size to match up with Cameron Boozer, and you're going to have multiple bodies throw his way because he's really good at getting to the foul line.
I mean, his worst game was the championship final against Virginia, where Virginia center had 9 blocks, and he was like Boozer was like 3 of 17 from the floor. But continue.
You need that kind of effect. You also are going to need to shoot the ball really well and shoot it from like deep 3-point range as well.
Yep.
I will say, like, Virginia surprised me in how easily they got to the rim in that ACC final against Duke. And so maybe that's like a concern going forward, but I do think they turn up the defensive intensity. That was something that was really impressive about Duke's team last year, and it has been just as much this year as they are the number 1 team in KenPom defensively. If there was a team in the round of 32 that would be able to do that, I thought it would have been Ohio State. They got a 7-footer, Tilly, who is a really good shot blocker, and they got a guard in Bruce Thornton who can score enough to shock Duke. I don't think TCU's built that way, and so I'm going to take the Blue Devils.
I'm also taking Duke.
Good pick. I'll also go Duke. I also just wanted to acknowledge chat real quick just so that we don't forget to. Harris makes a great point, Jack, that if you don't care, we're missing out on an opportunity to have a perfect ballot and get 1 million subscribers, as he points out. So
This is true. I also think I'm just as likely to luck into a perfect bracket as I am to try really hard to pick a perfect bracket.
true.
It might be easier to get 1 million subscribers than pick a perfect bracket.
I agree with that.
That's true because there are a lot more people with 1 million subscribers
The
than have
people
picked
that
a
have had perfect
bracket.
brackets.
And then the other thing I'll say is
I mean,
When-
Kalshi is offering $1 billion for a perfect bracket.
$1 billion. That's ridiculous. I need.
So just something to consider.
Yeah, that's something to think about. That's my new job. Is just filling out brackets for Kalshi. And then Wynn pointed out that it's breaking news that Cooper Flagg has chosen to activate his remaining 3 years of eligibility and return to Duke for March Madness.
No, he got a temporary restraining
Could the
order
NCAA
from-
stop him? I don't think so.
He's busy winning almost no games for Dallas. But that's okay because he's on his way to getting a better teammate in the draft.
True. So Duke, we have the winner here, and then next up.
Yeah, it's a 5v4, I believe. I don't think we picked an upset. St. John's versus Kansas. Very fun matchup. 2 storied head coaches is kind of the first thing that jumps out to me. It's Rick Pitino versus Bill Self.
It's the first time they've ever faced each other in the tournament, and it's also the first time they've ever faced each other when they're both the coach of a power conference team as well.
Gotcha.
The only other time they've faced off is when Iona, when Rick Pitino was the coach there a couple years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, played against Kansas.
Yeah.
In the regular season. That's the only time
Gotcha.
they've faced off.
I'll just be up. My early lean here is St. John's.
Really?
Just in terms of how teams have played down the stretch. I think St. John's has a good enough defensive unit to go and kind of give Kansas issues. I do think Kansas as the team out of these two has the higher ceiling and like could really put together a run and just have like their A+ performance is better than St. John's A+ performance. But it's been a wacky season for Kansas. I've talked to a couple Jayhawks fans I know, and they're just kind of at the point where they're like, we give up trying to figure this team out. So if they've given up trying to figure this team out, I'm not going to come in as an outside observer of Kansas and try and figure them out. I'm just going to take them to get upset by the 5 seed, which is not really an upset here, and have St. John's advance.
I'll go ahead and say my favorite theory for the Kansas situation is still that Darren Peterson's agents have just told him play a little bit, look good, and sit on the bench. But I think that come March Madness, hopefully they'll be like, all right, now you need to like win some games in the tournament against really good competition because that like locks in your number 1 overall pick.
But he has been playing more recently, and he's
Yeah.
had some games where he's not really all that good. He's had some games where he's really good. He has had real cramping issues. The rest of the team is also just like Floyd Badunga, great rim protector. You know, Melvin Council's pretty good, but then some games they don't really look all that good either. And so it's just kind of like, what are you going to get? I don't think it's all on Darren Peterson.
Well,
if he goes and hits 8 threes, then yeah, they're probably in pretty good shape. But
I'll be picking Kansas.
I don't think anyone can shut Darren Peterson down, but I do think St. John's can shut down everyone else. And sadly, even though it's more likely to happen in a college basketball game, I don't think even if Darren Peterson went for 35, it's going to be enough for Kansas to beat St. John's.
Sure.
So I'm going to take St. John's.
Cool.
And the Red Storm.
I feel like no one really calls them the Red Storm. It's an interesting
They call
mascot.
the
The
Johnnies.
Johnnies.
The Johnnies,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like a wow. On to an 11 versus 6 matchup. We'll see if South Florida's
11-3.
11-3, excuse me. We'll see if South Florida's the Bulls Cinderella run reaches the second weekend as they face off against Tom Izzo and Michigan State. It's going to be a bit of a tall task for South Florida to match up against that Michigan State defense, but maybe South Florida's defense shuts down Michigan State's offense. Thoughts on this game, either of you?
I mean, as we've said, this is the month of Izzo, and I don't think he's losing in the round of 32.
Yeah.
I feel like we can start to have other conversations about the team out like once we get further into the tournament, but that's I feel like all that needs to be said for the first couple rounds.
I'm going to take the Spartans over the Bulls. I agree. I do think Izzo and this team make it to the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
Over the South Florida Bulls. I think the defense trumps the day there. South Florida has their hot shooting day against Louisville and then isn't as hot when they play Michigan State.
Cool. I'm good to ride with Michigan State. Let's do it. Izzo gets to his second weekend. So then it's the last matchup of the round of 32 in the East. And it is 7 seed UCLA versus 15 seed Furman. Mick Cronin versus whoever Furman's head coach is. I'm sorry, I don't know off the top of my head, Furman. Thoughts on this matchup? Does Furman make the real Cinderella push and as a 15 seed reach the second weekend?
Princeton did it 2 years ago, I believe, right? Did they go all the way to the Sweet 16?
No, they lost to Missouri
In the
round
round-
of 32.
round of 32?
St. Peter's as a
St.
15
Peter's
is, I
did.
think, is the last 15
Okay.
They
to
made
like
the
make
Elite
the
Eight.
second weekend. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they ended up beating Purdue.
Shout out Doug Eddert.
Then they were right there and lost to 8 seed North Carolina.
Is that did North Carolina win the championship that year?
North Carolina went to the national
Win the
title.
championship.
Was up big against Kansas, correct?
Okay.
And then
Lost in the second
Kansas
half.
reeled them back in.
Ochai Adebaji had a day in the second half.
Well, Furman is not St. Peter's, so I'll be going UCLA.
Known Raptor, Ochai.
Yeah.
Adebaji. I'll take UCLA as well.
Sure.
I think, but at this point, you would hope Donovan Dent and co are healthier, feel better, and I do think they're just a better matchup for Furman. Ironically, I think they're a better matchup for Furman than UConn is, and so I'll take UCLA to advance to Sweet 16 over Furman.
Yeah, I mean, you can't be mad Furman about picking up the win as the 15 seed.
Yeah.
Like, you won't really care you go out here, but I'll take UCLA as
I
well.
said earlier, I forget what team I was talking about, but I had a team that ranked, I think, in like the top 20 of all the metrics that I look at. Furman is outside the top 100 in most metrics, outside the top 200 in two of them.
Well, this is where the madness comes in.
It is where the madness comes in, but it's just, which shout out to him. Like, it's impressive that you were able to win your conference tournament and still be that bad.
Injuries, man, they're killer.
Yeah. So I'll be going with UCLA.
Yeah.
For sure.
On to the Sweet 16 here. Fairly chalky region here by us, which is one of the stronger regions, so this isn't too surprising, I would say, just in terms of the quality of like the top 5 seeds. We have Duke versus St. John's. Fantastic defensive matchup. Both teams, I believe, are top 10 on KenPom in defensive rating. I'm looking up St. John's real quick to make sure that is correct. They're 12th, so not exactly top 12, though. Thoughts on this game? Does St. John's have enough? Does Rick Pitino have enough to reach the Elite Eight and get past Duke?
I just don't think they're going to be big enough for
Sure.
Cameron Boozer. And I think one thing they will match up well with if we see this matchup with Sweet 16 is I think will have a good chance at stopping what for me is Boozer's best ability, which is his passing.
Yeah.
He leads Duke in assists per game, and he does that because he draws multiple guys. And then when he throws passes out of the post or out of the short corner or in the middle, he puts it on the money, and he puts it right into his shooter's hands. And Duke isn't like great at shooting the basketball, but when he gives them the perfect pass, it allows them to catch and shoot like they're shooting in warm-ups, and they can shoot really well because of that. I do think St. John's, with their length, give that matchup a really interesting wrinkle, and I wanted to see who wins that. But I don't think they can match up for just Boozer's straight size and scoring. I think you would have a lot of offensive rebound success in a game like this, second chance points, missing that first one, getting the board, pump faking, and one, big momentum moments. And so I like Duke in a matchup with St. John's more often than I do the Red Storm.
Sanders?
I'll also be going Duke.
Cool. I'll round out the trio then. I do think Zuby Ejiofor versus Boozer would be a very fun matchup, and I think St. John's would give them a run for their money. But Duke's lost 2 games all year. All Cam Boozer does is win, so it's kind of it's really hard to see them going out before the Elite Eight, let alone like even further potentially.
And I was going to mention this had we not seen it, which we ended up seeing in the semifinals and the finals. But Caden Boozer,
Yeah.
and his ability, because he's the son of an NBA player, and Carlos Boozer, his ability to show up in the brightest of moments. He ends up going for his career high in the final against Virginia, if I'm not mistaken.
I think he had like 14 first-half points.
Yeah, he was incredible, and it was a huge momentum piece. I think it reminds me, of course, since they're twins, of the Harrison twins from Kentucky and their big moments and their big-time shots in March. It's something about that where it feels very similar, where I do think both of these guys are going to have some very big moments, and maybe they're the group that can finally, take Duke back over the top.
Yeah.
I think Caden Boozer has a few good games in this tournament, like he did at the end of the ACC tournament.
Well, once again, I mean, Caleb Foster's out, so the opportunity's there. The minute increases there. He just has to take advantage of it. On to the other.
Elite Sweet 16 matchup.
Yeah, talk about 4 basketball
Yes.
programs being in the Sweet 16 of a region. In UCLA, Michigan State,
Yeah.
St. John's, and Duke.
Yes. Yep.
4 blue bloods. St. John's maybe not so much, but essentially
A
4
blue blood
bloods.
coach.
Yeah.
It's 3 blue bloods and then a blue blood coach.
Yeah, and they are a pretty storied program, even if they don't have necessarily blue blood status. But
To give a stat on this region, they're the it's the first time a region has had 6 programs with 2 or more national champions in the same region. It's the first
Yeah.
time 6 have been in the same region.
Crazy.
St. John's, Michigan State, UCLA, UConn, and then Duke. And I'm missing a 6th.
I don't know. There's a reason Duke feels slighted though, as
Mhm.
like the number 1 overall seed to get this region. Other Sweet 16 matchup, it's Michigan State, the 3 seed versus the 7 seed UCLA. Yeah, I mean just fire coaching matchup, fire school matchup in terms of brand,
Conference
and
matchup.
prestige.
Known
Yeah,
conference
true.
matchup.
Known conference matchup. Good point. Leans here, thoughts here.
It would also be a rematch from when Nick Cronin walked his player out and ejected him from the game.
Mm-hmm.
Happened at Michigan State.
This also would be a rematch of, I mean, UCLA beat Michigan State in the Big Ten tournament. So,
So these teams have matched up a lot.
twice, I believe, yes, which is in college basketball. It's, you match up twice, it's pretty good numbers.
I'll still be going Michigan State. Like I said, they're top 20 in all of my metrics, or at least most of them. So I'll be leaning Michigan State here. Go with Coach Izzo.
I'm in a tough spot because I really don't like Michigan State.
You don't have to like them. We're
But-
trying to get a perfect bracket here.
Here they are, and I think they would win this matchup. I think Jeremy Fears could lead them to an Elite 8. I think Jackson Kohler can lead him to an Elite 8. I think Tom Izzo can lead that bunch to an Elite 8. And I really, despite having UCLA sitting here in the Sweet 16, I'm really not the biggest fan of this UCLA team. So I think I take Michigan State to win this one.
I'm going to take Michigan State as well. Kim Palm agrees with Sanders' metrics. Michigan State being the 9th best team in the country. So, by definition, the best 3 seed, although they aren't the best 3 seed. Technically, Illinois is the best 3 seed, ranked at 7. But I'm going to take Michigan State to beat UCLA with Jeremy Fears. And I think of the teams in this region, I think they give Duke, which we can go ahead and move straight to that game because there's no vetoes at this point. I do think of the
correct.
teams in this region, I think Michigan State's got the best chance to beat Duke. And I'll say that is saying a lot because I really think this is, of the teams, of the 1 seeds, Duke is the most likely Final Four team. I do think they just are so elite defensively. They have a go-to scorer in Cameron Boozer. They have already, in that coaching staff, a young coaching staff experience going deep in the tournament. Of course, being in the Final Four last year and losing to Houston.
Yeah.
I think this is a team that is poised for a deep tournament run. And they're also a Tier 1 national title contender. They meet all of those metrics very, very well. I think Michigan State gives them the best chance, but I like Duke in that Elite Eight matchup right now.
Yeah, I'd also go Duke. I just think at some point, like, and part of it is probably just like from an aesthetic standpoint of Michigan State, but I always just feel like at some point the lack of shot making is going to get Michigan State in a tournament, and what better matchup than against Duke, where I don't expect them to just be able to crash the offensive glass with the same level of success they've had all season. Duke is huge. It's not just Cam Boozer. They have a lot of other big bodies. This is a rematch of the Zion Williamson Duke team. I think they met in the Elite Eight against Michigan State as well. Michigan State beat them.
Yep.
But I'll take Duke here to advance to the Final Four out of the East region.
Cool. So
Are you agreeing or disagreeing?
Yeah, I'm down for that.
Cool.
That's who I would pick.
Is this game being played in Cameron Boozer's future home? It's being played in Washington, D.C. Do you think he's a Wizard? The
No,
Wizards need him.
I do not think he's a Wizard.
Apparently, they can't defend centers.
Well, depending on who you ask.
Cameron Boozer and Alex Sarr would be an interesting combo, too.
I don't know how much I like that. I'm not gonna lie. But maybe the Wizards will. I feel like the development trajectory for Alex Sarr, at least the Wizards' ideal, which they could back off this if they got Cam Boozer, is they kind of want Alex Sarr to maybe play as more of a floor spacing 4.
Yeah.
They've really worked on developing the 3-point shot, but that just feels. Then Cam Boozer's not a 5 at the NBA level; he's a 4. So while Sanders getting it set up, we'll
we'll move to the I don't know
the
what
South. I'm assuming.
I don't know if it's South or not.
Are you going to the one where Florida's the 1 seed
Yeah.
next? Then yes, it's the South.
The one in the bottom left. That's how I
The
like.
bottom left region.
I don't have like locations. It's like which region? Oh, that's top right.
Yeah.
That's just how I think about brackets, and I'm sure that's wrong. Also, my plan is to add the. I was having trouble with the
Yeah.
doing the brackets and keeping the video, so I'm just gonna add it in post for the videos.
Okay.
And if you're live, we will just try to keep y'all up to date on like where we are, what we're
Sounds good.
doing. I'm gonna keep that graphic there, and then I'll cover it in post with like the actual matchups.
Well, on that note, and emphasizing, to kick off the South region, 1 seed Florida will play the winner of Prairie View A&M or Lehigh. Prairie View A&M a pretty shocking run in the SWAC tournament. I think they were like the 7 seed or something like that, if not lower.
Yeah, Lehigh as well too. Lehigh
Yeah.
is just 2 games above 500 at 18-16, but Prairie View A&M is 1 game above 500 at 18-17.
Great matchup. I mean, just a fantastic first 4 matchup right there. Regardless, we can get into it more if y'all want, but I am very comfortable taking Florida to advance to the round of 32
I'm also
as the 1 seed.
I'm fine with that. I also like to mention these are the 2 lowest teams per KenPom,
Sure.
and they are the lowest by a unbelievable.
What's the lowest? What's the number we got?
It is 68 spots.
Wow.
It separates LIU, which fins up, and Lehigh, and then 4 spots separate Prairie View and Lehigh.
Sure.
But there's 68 spots separating Lehigh and fins up the Sharks between the 16 seeds. So this is an all-time matchup.
Well, no reason to dwell on that anymore. We can move on to the 8-9 matchup in the South region.
Shout out 9.
Shout out 9. Clemson as the 8 seed will face off against Iowa as the 9 seed. A couple big things to know here. In the ACC tournament, Clemson starting center Carter Welling tore his ACL. He will obviously, as considering he tore his ACL, not be playing in the NCAA tournament. And then the big thing for Iowa is it's all about their pace they play at, and then their lead guard Bennett Sturts. Let me find it. They have 364 in possessions per game in the country, so basically second slowest pace in the country. But they take care of the ball well. They shoot the 3 ball okay. They don't turn the ball over. Bennett Sturts is liable to play 40 minutes in this game. I went back their last regular season game. He played 45 minutes because it was an overtime game against, I believe, Illinois. But he is very likely to just as the floor general and as the engine of this team. And since they really aren't fantastic, they can't really afford to not play him. He'll probably be out there for all 40 minutes, assuming this game is close. But Iowa versus Clemson, any other stats, any other leans here?
Iowa does not beat good teams, and
Yes.
Clemson has 2 good wins, but like you said, they're without their starting center. Iowa has 1 win over a notable Big Ten team in the tournament. That's Nebraska, and they won that game at home. This is kind of a weaker of the 8-9 matchups, which is
Sure.
going to make it just that much easier, I think, for Florida to make the Sweet 16. Iowa's favored as well. This is the only higher seed to be favored at this point in the first round.
Yeah.
Which is kind of rare. Multiple years we've had. I think even last year there was an 11 seed that was favored over a 6 seed. We've seen that kind of matchup before. But this is the only higher seed to be favored in a first round matchup. Iowa's favored by 1.5
Yeah.
at this point.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Iowa in this matchup. I really respect Brad Burnell as Clemson's coach. I think he's really good about doing more with less. I don't think they typically have the most talented rosters, on paper, the most elite rosters, but this is now 3 tournaments in a row.
Yeah.
1 with an Elite 8 run in there. Yes, they lost in the first round last year to McNeese, but it kind of felt like just such a freak of started off slow, couldn't hit a shot.
Yes.
Really tried to get back into it, ended up losing by 2.
It was a world-class first half. World-class bad
Yes.
first half.
So in that sense, I do almost want to pick Clemson because I really do trust him. But I really don't love the makeup of this roster, so I'll take Iowa to win and move on.
Sounds good. I'll also go Iowa.
I'm thinking Iowa as well.
Sure. Moves us on to our next matchup in the South. 5 seed Vanderbilt, fresh off an SEC championship tournament game loss in the finals to Arkansas. Said that about as poorly as possible. Versus kind of recent NCAA tournament darling McNeese. Just talked about them beating Clemson last year. New head coach after Will Wade went to NC State. But they kind of surprisingly returned. I want to say they weren't even the 1 seed. Maybe they were. They went 28-5. So they had a
They returned also Amir
Aura Khan.
No Aura Khan.
Didn't he return like mid-season? Like he
did.
just kind of reappeared. Did he?
Yes.
So he did like his first semester at NC State, and then was like,
Yes.
yeah, never mind. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know what the truth is. I saw someone who say that he transferred and then realized that his credits from McNeese wouldn't transfer over, so he transferred back to get his degree. And they were like, well, like, stop dogging the kid. He's just trying to get his degree. I don't know or care.
I do agree. I think it's time. Like he deserves to be someone that has like a 1-tourney lifespan.
Yeah.
You do not get a
Yes.
multi-tourney lifespan as Amir or Khan. McNeese is led by Larry Johnson, averaging 17.5 points a game. That being said, I do think this Vanderbilt team is very good, and they counter the way McNeese plays. McNeese likes to get physical defensively, turn you over, play fast. But I expect guys like Duke Miles and Tyler Tanner to be able to handle that well and even potentially embrace it and kind of like beat McNeese at their own game. McNeese averages 17 turnovers a game. But personally, I just think Vandy's going to have this matchup and be just fine.
Yeah, Vandy feels underseeded as a 5 seed. They've been consistently good pretty much the entire year. Of course, started the season off really hot, unexpectedly, and then into the season really hot, making it all the way to the SEC championship game and beating the number 1 seed of this region, Florida Gators. McNeese has played 2 tournament teams so far this season. They lost at Michigan by 41 points, and then they lost to 10 seed Santa Clara at Santa Clara by 12. Again, I think Vanderbilt's underseeded. I think they're the team that can very well get a rematch against Florida in the Sweet 16 and then just beat them again and be in the Elite 8 and maybe make a Final Four run. I really like the Commodores. I really have liked the way that they've played basketball this year, and I do think a huge part of them being hot at the right time, which is surprising to say considering how hot they started the season. They're hot again come the NCAA tournament.
Agreed.
I'm with the Vanderbilt Commodores here, and Amir No Aura Khan ends up losing, and the McNeese Cowboys go home.
Yeah, Vanderbilt started out as one of the hottest teams in college basketball. I think they were one of the last unbeaten teams. Is that right?
I do think they're up there, yeah.
So, a team that started out really hot and then finished SEC play is were they still a top 4 seed? I mean,
They were the 4th seed.
They were very good, but they were started out as the best in the SEC, and I don't know if they're still the best, but I think they're better than McNeese. So I'll go with Vanderbilt.
Sorry, McNeese. On to the 4 versus 13 matchup in the South region.
What a matchup it is.
Yep. Number 4 seeded Nebraska facing off against 13 seed Troy. Nebraska's looking yet again for their first ever NCAA tournament victory. They'll have to do so against Troy out of the Sun Belt. The big thing is, can Nebraska get their first NCAA tournament win? Play style wise, they're very great defensively. They play an interesting style where they basically no middle. They're not going to let you get the ball inside. They'll seed threes and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you do kind of try and work it inside, they'll trap, they'll double, they'll force you to pass out, and just make you take. They're good about forcing you to take the shots that they want you to take, and then they'll live and die by that, whichever way it goes. I will say they started off the season really hot, and down the stretch have not been horrible, but they faltered a little bit. Kind of more so trading wins and losses instead of going on runs. and they have 3 losses in their last 7 games where they scored under 60 points, which is a concern for them. They're 55th on KenPom in offensive rating.
Yeah.
They don't have tons of offensive firepower. I like Price Sandfort, but aside from that, there's not tons of like great scorers on that team. And they match up against Troy, which either of y'all have thoughts on Troy?
Troy's hot. They beat
Sure.
the GATA, the Georgia Southern Eagles, Golden Eagles, who made a run in the Sun Belt Gauntlet tournament, which is one of the tournaments that are set up where you may have to win 5 games in 5 days. And
Yeah.
Georgia Southern was on that track, winning 4 games in 4 days, and then couldn't get it done against Troy. And I watched that game. Y'all watched that game live on the air as well. At least that's what I heard last
Yes.
week. Victor Valdez, which sick name. He's up there, I think, in the all name category for me. Victor Valdez is, alliteration. Sick name. Troy this year is 1-0 against tournament teams. They beat Akron, who's a 12 seed. But they also got 2 other notable matchups. They beat the Mountain West Conference runner-ups, San Diego State, who is a bubble team right there on the outside looking in. And then they lost by just a point to Eric Musselman's USC Trojans, pre-Chad Baker-Mazara leaving the team.
Yeah, before they lost like their last 7 games or whatever it was.
Both of those games, the score was 108-107 and 107-106. This is a Troy team that can score points. They scored 100-plus multiple times this year. And Jack just mentioned one of the weaknesses for Nebraska. They don't have a lot of scorers.
Yes.
I like Troy. I like the Troy Trojans. I think there's something about curses, and it just feels like maybe Nebraska is cursed.
Sure.
To not get that tournament win. And so give me Troy. I think it's a bad matchup. Of the 13 seeds, I think you could have got maybe a better matchup here. So I'm going to take Troy and the Trojans.
Yeah, Troy is the 3-point shooting's a swing for them. They have games where they're really hot, and they have stretches where they're really cold. And like I just said, Nebraska will let you shoot some threes. And so if they get hot, watch out. I want to highlight the brothers on the team, Kobe and Cooper Campbell, a pair of red-headed shooters, which is just quite the duo from Washington. I really wish I had talked to them and be like, how did you end up at Troy?
A
But
lot
I
of
guess
brothers
Troy
in this
offered them.
tournament.
A lot of brothers in this tournament. And then another guy, Theo Sang, I don't know how to say his last name. He's a starter averaging 13 points per game for Troy, but he hurt his knee a couple weeks ago, and his status is unclear for the tournament. I also want to pick Troy just because it would be so funny if Nebraska yet again can't get it done. And I do think there's, like we've talked about, there's merit for that, as well as the factor of like Troy comes out early, hits a 3 or 2, they get like a 12-8 lead. How quickly does Nebraska's team tighten up and the nerves get to them, and can they shake it off and keep playing their ball? I will pick Nebraska here because I really want to kick this decision over to Sanders and see what he has.
It's going to be a full-on home game. I'll go ahead and tell you that much, kind of. This game's played in Oklahoma City.
At this point, I think it'd be a home game for Nebraska doesn't matter.
That was what I was going to mention.
I was in Memphis
Yes.
for the A&M game. That was last year. No, 2 years ago.
2 years
Excuse me,
ago,
2 years ago. And it was a Nebraska home game. Go Big Red chants ringing around the stadium. Now A&M silenced them. Shout out Wade Taylor. But good game.
Shout out 4. I really want Nebraska to lose this game because
Wow.
I think it's so funny.
Yeah, it is.
I hold no grudge against Nebraska. I think, cool school and, their success in football and the history there is awesome. I don't have a grudge against them or anything. But it's just so funny. As someone who loves stories and sports, that'd be a wild story for them to have been a top 10 team at some point this season.
Yeah.
Another one of the last unbeatens. Them and Vanderbilt
Yes.
were 2 of the last unbeaten teams. For them to then still not be able to get a win in March, which is, I'm not going to lie, that's all I was thinking about 2 months ago when they were one of the last unbeaten. It was like, okay, but are they going to get a win in March? Because that's all that matters, and that's all I care about. And because JP has picked Troy to win, and because Nebraska has cooled off a little bit, and so I can make a semi-valid pick of Troy to beat Nebraska, I'm going to pick Troy.
Okay. Troy moves on. I love it. Still working our way down here. Next matchup, 6 seed North Carolina versus 11 seed VCU. Yet another 6-11 matchup where the 11 seed is getting a lot of steam as a popular upset pick, and there's good reasons. The biggest one being North Carolina's best player, freshman phenom Caleb Wilson, is not playing in this tournament. He was hurt, and then I think he broke his hand ramping back up from the injury, so he's done. And then VCU, as always, has a quality ball club out of the Atlantic 10. So there's good reason to pick that upset. My concern off rip is is this going to be a scenario where North Carolina is no, everyone picks VCU, and then North Carolina comes out and is like, no, we're so much better than just Caleb Wilson. Henri Vesar has good games. Seth Trimble has a really good game, and they just kind of take care of business. I also was burned by the Rams last year. I had them making the Sweet 16, and they lost in the first round. So a bit of a tough spot for me there. But thoughts on either of these teams?
Laser Djokovic, add him to the
S-tier
all-name team.
He's not a shooter, though.
Not a
it's
shooter, no.
weird. He's a
It is.
6'10" guy from Serbia.
Yeah, for the name Laser, you would think he would be a shooter.
I think of the Latvian laser, Davis Bertans. That is not Laser Djokovic.
VCU has played 5 teams. Well, 4 teams. They played St. Louis twice, but 5 tournament games against tournament teams. They're 0-5 in those games. This is also because of the Caleb Wilson injury, of the 6 versus 11s, which we only know 2 of the spreads right now, this is by far the closest, and it's almost by far the closest of any matchup between a double-digit seed and a single-digit seed. North Carolina is favored by only 2.5 points here, and that is the effect of the Caleb Wilson injury.
Yes.
Which is making VCU and the Rams a very trendy pick. Also, VCU, very well-known name, a team that's made the Final Four with Shaka Smart way back in the day.
Before Shaka Smart got the yips.
I'm going to go with the Rams as a VCU. I am going to pick the trendy upset pick, and I'm also going to pick another 11 over a 6. I picked South Florida earlier. I'll take VCU as well.
Sure. One more thing on VCU. Terrence Hill is their leading scorer as their 6th man. He comes off the bench and averages a little over 14 points per game. I'll go VCU as well. I'll trust them yet again. Once again, I just think the ACC was weak. There is still other talent on this North Carolina team, and I was really excited to watch them with Caleb Wilson, but you just kind of lose the alpha of the team, lose a huge front court presence. I'm worried about their tournament prospects because of that. The technical difficulties with the bracket mont, so it is just gone. We're going to try and be good about kind of laying out which matchup we're talking about, but I understand it's tough if you're listening passively and kind of popping in and out, so we apologize for that.
I was about to use my veto. About to use my veto because I was just looking at North Carolina's talent. I was like, they have so many other guys that have got a lot of stars next to their names. But I went to my model and plugged it in, and not Vegas, me, not Vegas.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was about to say.
Sanders.
Vegas. Sanders has this game as a push.
Wow.
Literally,
Yeah.
I would technically have
You don't even
North
really,
Carolina as a 0.07 point favorite.
you
We'll
don't
give
really
them a
even
point and a
account
half.
for injuries, do you?
Because
I don't account for injuries, which is why I'm going to go VCU.
Yeah.
Because I figure he's got to be worth at least a point, right?
Yeah.
We should have got a big bracket for Yamont, and we could have just been filling it out like Obama used to fill out his brackets.
Shout out to Obama, man.
Me and my family still like the paper ones you print out.
Yeah.
Yeah, me and my family did that every
I do
year
that
growing
too.
up.
I will have a printed out bracket this year. It's just better.
I think everybody does that.
In the 4th grade,
Not everyone.
my teacher, she got a bracket for me that we put on the door, and it was on her door to her classroom for the entire month of March.
That's fire.
And I filled in the teams that won. I didn't pick the bracket. but
Gotcha.
I
That's
filled in
still
the
cool.
teams that won. Same 4th grade teacher that did the cupcake thing with the Ravens
Yep.
and the 49ers.
So she just loves sports.
She does.
That's sick.
She also
Fun
gave
teacher.
me, she was the first teacher to call me JP,
Oh wow.
which is where
This
JP
is
started.
I
She's the GOAT, Miss Crow.
was gonna
She
say
was
this
the
is
GOAT.
like a core memory type teacher for
yes,
you. Like
absolutely.
That's sick.
an all timer.
Well, VCU moves on to the round of 32 after we all three pick them.
Yep. And now we get to another fun matchup, man.
It is.
3-seed Illinois will face off against 14-seed Penn. A bit of a shocker out of the Ivy, considering the past couple of years Yale has become such a force out of the Ivy and just always considered the best team. But in the Ivy League Championship Sunday morning, TJ Power had other things to say about it. Scored 43 points in an overtime win for Penn, including a stretch. He hits a 3 down 4 with like 9 seconds left to make it a 1-point game. They have to foul, obviously. Yale hits their 2 free throws, so it's back to a 3-point game. Yale decides not to foul up 3. He runs back down the court and cans another 3 to give him 40 flat with a second left, which Yale then proceeds to throw the ball in, and their 70-foot heave hits square on the back iron.
Yeah.
Like I thought it was going in, but then they go to overtime and Pennsylvania prevails. Because of that, like I think I've watched 6 minutes of Penn basketball this year, but I feel like I'm a Penn fan now through and through just from watching that.
Yeah, Power's 6'10". Like you said, he had 43 points. He was 7 for 14 from 3.
I mean,
He was also
42% from 3 on the season.
Yeah, he was 9 for 9 from the free throw line,
Mm-hmm.
which if you were watching the broadcast, you would understand why that's a big deal. He's a 62% free throw shooter, which is like bad.
Yeah.
But he was 9 for 9 in the conference championship
Stepped up
game.
when it mattered. Former 5-star.
Yes.
Really?
Started his career at Duke, I think, but just like never did anything. The crazy stat is he was at Virginia last year and scored 35 points all year, and then drops 43, and in one game this year to lead his team to the dance.
Yep. I think something to monitor, which this is going to it doesn't help Penn that they have to play on Thursday, but their best scorer, Ethan Roberts, is more than likely there's a chance he plays, but he had his second concussion of the year while practicing before their first game in the Ivy League tournament, and he did not play in the Ivy League tournament, and I don't know if he'll play against Illinois, and they will need him against Illinois because Illinois is a great offense.
Number 1 offensive rated team on KenPom.
Yes, they score very, very well. Did you mention Fran McCaffrey yet?
I was about to, but yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say Fran McCaffrey, former coach at Iowa the last 15 seasons. So we kind of get like a pseudo Big Ten matchup here between Iowa and Illinois, but it's Penn. This is his alma mater. He played there and graduated from there in 1982, and he's led them back to the tournament for the first time since 2018. Something to look at is they'll sneak in a 2-3 from time to time situationally. They did it in the Ivy League championship game at least, and that's the only minutes I've watched of Penn as well, I will admit. But they did it against a Yale team that shoots the 3-ball well, and Yale shot the 3-ball well when they did it. Now when you go against Illinois, best offense in the country, I don't know how well the 2-3 is going to work there. But that being said, Fran McCaffrey, having coached at Iowa, understands Illinois' system, and maybe they can find some success. I imagine they'll be a very trendy 14-seed pick. Just like any coach who leaves the Power 5 and goes to one of these smaller schools. I think of like Rick Pitino when he was with Iona, in both of the tournament runs he had with them.
Yeah. I think it will be trendy. I don't agree with it. I really like this Illinois team.
Yeah,
and
same.
I think the team that will get Illinois is someone that can play physical on a Keaton Wagler and kind of get up in his grill and make him feel uncomfortable, and get some rebounds. And just, Illinois is not always the most physical team. They get pushed around a little bit. But I don't have any worries about Penn pushing them around. I'm going to be honest. And so I think Illinois is going to win comfortably here and just score a ton of points.
It's the biggest spread of the 14-3 matchups, as opposed to the Michigan State, North Dakota State. This spread is 24.5, which is a large sum, both in basketball and in football, and especially in baseball.
Soccer? I mean,
Even
that is
more so with soccer.
unprecedented in soccer, I dare say.
Sanders, what say you? Do you want to use your veto and take the Penn, which
No.
their mascot
No.
is the...
I know. Does Jack know?
Is it the Quakers?
Yes,
is
it's
the
Quakers.
I remember 2018. I think they were. You mentioned that last time they went. I think they played Kansas in the first round. Shout out the Quakers. I'm glad you didn't veto Penn. because I didn't pick Penn, but also that would mean we would have Troy, VCU, and Penn all advancing in a row.
Yeah, that'd be a
So
tough
it would
look.
become Cinderella row. Now VCU Penn would be an unreal round of 32 matchup,
It would be.
Yeah.
That'd be cinema.
but we're not going to get it.
No, I'm
Illinois moves on.
going Illinois. Illinois legend R.J. Melendez.
Which brings us to the matchup that contains my team. As 7-seed St. Mary Gales will face off against the 10-seeded Texas A&M Aggies playing buckyball. And this is probably the biggest clash of styles in the first round. St. Mary's plays mega slow, and they're big. A&M plays really fast, is going to press, is going to try and force a ton of turnovers. And A&M starting center stands at a whopping 6'5". Now he has long arms, but I don't think long arms make up for 6'5". Some things to look out for. A&M has not fared well when playing other big teams. Biggest one that stands out is when Florida came to Reed Arena, and I think A&M had like 11 points at halftime, started like 1 of 24 from the field. So maybe St. Mary's just dominates the glass, and there's no contest there. But maybe the pace of A&M gets to St. Mary's, and St. Mary's starts turning the ball over. They get tired. The press bothers them. They're typically pretty disciplined, but you never know. A&M definitely has the athleticism edge there. And then A&M's also just going to rain threes. And you'll see stretches of buckyball games where they go on a 17-0 run in 2 minutes because it's like a three, and then they force a turnover out of the press, and they hit another three. So realistically, you can spin this game either way you want in terms of who's going to win the clash of styles. Height is probably the safer pick in terms of going with St. Mary's, but since I said I can spin it either way and I can pick my team, I'm going to take A&M to win this matchup.
Yeah, to speak on the bad matchup, St. Mary's got 2 7-footers that played big-time minutes.
We may see some Federico in this game,
Yeah.
which is not great if we're A&M.
Starting center, 6'5", long arms. Ruben Bain wishes he was built like him,
Yes.
I will say. So there's some flowers to your starting center there at A&M. St. Mary's has been like a team they've won games this year, of course.
Yes.
Every team wins games. But I'm saying they've won games against tournament teams. They've beaten Gonzaga this year. They've beaten Santa Clara. But at the same time, they've lost to Santa Clara twice. They lost to Gonzaga. They also lost to Vanderbilt by a wide margin as well. I would argue outside of Texas, this is probably the farthest you're going to get between a team you love and a team like you hate. Like
I
on the
really
spectrum.
dislike St. Mary's.
Yeah.
I was very vocal about that last year.
So I'm going to pick A&M as well. I don't feel comfortable picking the Gales and St. Mary's. I may go and pick the Broncos later with Santa Clara, but I will take St. Mary's.
Sure.
To lose to Buckyball and A&M, and I hope he gets. I would love for him to get some redemption for what happened when he was with Sanford.
Sanford robbed.
And the missed call. Maybe we see a missed call go A&M's way late in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. Also, looking a little more outside or a little more general. I don't really feel bad taking my team considering whoever wins this gets Houston in the next round,
Yep.
and so that's probably just gonna be
Y'all
a
played
Houston
Houston
victory.
2 years ago.
2 years ago, and we took them to overtime. Shout out Anderson Garcia, buzzer beater 3.
Mississippi State legend Anderson Garcia.
NBA player Anderson Garcia got his first career start last night for the Utah Jazz.
Jesus, I did not know that.
3 points. I think it was 1 for 7 from the 3-point line. I was tuned in. I'm not gonna lie.
As you should be.
Him and Oscar Shibwe were sharing the court.
What a front court.
The Kings beat them barely. DeMar DeRozan had 41. But yeah, I digress. This goes us to the last matchup of the first round, the round of 64 in the South, and that's 2-seed Houston versus the 15-seed Idaho.
Vandals.
The Vandals, correct. Any points about the Vandals here? I'm taking Houston. Houston's kind of been there, done that. You know what you're going to get. A team that plays well defensively, even if they're not quite as elite as they have been in recent years. They're still top 20, so it's like not really that big of a step back. Great backcourt play. Solid enough front court play to get past Idaho. I'm not too worried about this.
I don't think anyone's mentioned this from what I've heard, and I've watched a ton of people talk about the bracket so far, that we could see a national championship rematch in the Elite Eight between Florida and Houston.
Yeah.
To speak on Houston, they should be a 1 seed in my eyes personally. Now, who would I drop?
You probably have to drop Florida.
Probably would have to drop Florida, but I also feel like Florida is a 1 seed as well. I feel like there should be 5 1 seeds this year.
That's fair. Yeah.
It's kind of how it feels with Houston. So them being a 2 seed, they feel underseeded to me. They're very consistent, and I like them to handle the Vandals in Idaho, and move on to the round of 32.
Sure. Well, let's get on to
Are
the
you gonna-
round of 32. And
Did
the
Sanders pick
no,
Houston?
yeah, I picked.
sorry.
Okay.
I already wrote him in. I was like, let's get in.
No
there.
veto there.
No
no
veto. I
no
think
vetoes yet, man.
I think I expect I know where I'll be using my veto, but we shall see when we get there.
Well, also we'll remember that at
I
least that's
couldn't
what we
yet.
did last year.
Yeah,
you
you can
can't
only use it in the
circle around and veto in the first round. Like it's, we can finish filling out all the first rounds and be like, we can't because of the way we've done this actually.
Yeah.
So I take that back. You have to veto on the spot.
Yep.
Because last year we went all around of 64, then all around of 32.
Yep.
So change my mind. Just kidding. Round of 32 in the South, we have the 1 seed Florida facing off against the 9th seeded Iowa Hawkeyes. I think this is a bit of a nightmare matchup for Iowa. I'm not going to lie, just considering what Florida has in the front court with Chinyalu, Condon, Hanlockton, Howe. Like, I don't know who on Iowa is going to handle that. I like Bennett Sturts. I think he's a good player. He honestly probably will be the best guard in this game, but I just don't think it matters. I think that Iowa's going to get slaughtered on the boards, and it's going to be game over.
I just think Florida's going to have a good tournament from their guards as well. I feel like they kind of turned it around.
They've been trending up.
Yep.
They are still susceptible to, like, an occasional stinker or a no-show, but in general, they're shooting the ball better. They're running the offense better, which is all you can hope for.
That helps them is with how good their front court is. They don't have to step up every single time.
Correct. They don't have to step up. They can just step up to like a B game, and that's probably
Agreed.
enough.
Absolutely. So I think Boogie Fland and Xavier Lee might have a pretty good tournament, especially with how good their front court is there at Florida. I'm going to take Florida. I don't think there should be really any competition. Regardless of who comes out of that 8-9, I just think they're so far behind
Sure.
Florida. I will be very surprised
It'd
if
be
Florida
true
loses that
madness
game.
if either of those get pulled off. So,
Yes.
completely agree with you there. Any different Sanders there?
Nope. Also Florida.
Cool. On to the next, and that is in the round of 32. 5th seeded Vanderbilt facing off against a bit of a Cinderella, the 13th seeded Troy, after they knocked off Nebraska in the round of 64. Vandy's a bit of a smaller team, once again led by their great guard play, can shoot the ball really well. They'll play fast. They can kind of go on runs whenever they want to, it seems. And then, Troy, we talked about them a lot. They will score a lot. They've shown to be competitive against other tournament teams when they played them in the regular season. For me, I do think this is where Troy's run ends. I'm a big fan of this Vandy team. And talk about Troy playing fast. I think Vandy can handle that, and I think Vandy can handle Troy shooting and kind of shut it down a little bit.
Yeah, no SEC bias here. I think Florida Vanderbilt is going to be the most picked Sweet 16 matchup
Sure.
out of anyone, and I will pick it as well. I'm all over Vanderbilt, regardless of who they play in the round of 32. I think they make it to the Sweet 16. And then I think we're going to have an interesting debate between the Commodores and the Gators.
Yeah, because we've seen them play before, so it'll be fun to.
It'll be a very good conversation.
Yeah, but I'll also go Vanderbilt.
Cool. Keep on moving down the line. The VCU Rams, as an 11 seed, will face off against the 3-seeded Illinois in the round of 32. Once again, the Rams are a quality team. I think they're a good 11 seed. We obviously like them enough to beat North Carolina. But I'll just be up front. I really, really like this Illinois team and what they bring to the table offensively, so that even if they maybe aren't an elite group defensively, and they're not, according to analytics, I don't really feel like they're a team that's going to get upset because of how good they are offensively and the amount of weapons they have. Keaton Wagler, Andre Stojakovic, Kylan Boswell, the Avicic brothers inside, other people on that team as well. Like, say Wagler has an off day, right? they'll find other ways to score. They have other weapons, so I'm just not too worried about them getting upset by a lower seed.
Yeah, 5 guys that average double figures.
Yeah.
4 guys that average 13 or more. It is definitely a team that it's hard to see them get upset because there's so many guys that can give you a big day. What a matchup it would be between Laser Djokovic and Andrei Stojakovic.
Yeah.
What a name matchup that would be. But I like the Fighting Illini as well. It feels like a really all the regions are good, but this feels like a really stacked potential region with the 4 teams that could be in the Sweet 16. I'm gonna take the Illini as
Sure.
well.
Yes, same. I don't think this is as strong as the region we just looked at.
I think this is the second best in my opinion.
Okay. We'll
Um,
see. We can, establish that more as we see the other 2 regions. But
We're
The-
about to get to the weakest region in my opinion.
yeah,
So,
the
Agreed.
top left region, whatever region
top
that is.
right it would be.
But then the top left region was the strongest.
Oh,
I think
yes,
we'll see.
yes.
Whatever direction that's in. But I will be going with Illinois as well.
Cool.
Also, Harris just said it's crazy. There have been more women's brackets submitted than men's on ESPN.
That is crazy.
That's interesting. The cynic in me immediately goes to AI submissions because the women's bracketology is usually more chalked, and so people are just trying to win the money. I know
It's
that's
possible.
like wild conspiracy theory, but that just seems
I mean,
really
realistically, there
weird.
has to be some reason other than just popularity because it's
Not as popular.
Not
It's not as
disrespecting.
popular.
It's not as popular. So
So it just feels like.
that is still cool, and
Do you think
women's
there's-
basketball is growing.
I wonder if there's like bracketology farms out there. If there's like.
There could be. It's also just think there's a world where people are put less time into their women's bracket, so they just like
Get them
boom,
out.
boom, boom,
yeah,
boom, boom,
Yeah.
submit. And
Maybe.
the men's bracket, it's like no, like I need to sit, debate these matchups.
Yeah.
Still a very cool stat. I probably have UConn be winning my women's bracket.
That would be a good pick. I
Thank you.
could see it. I might end up picking Texas, but
I'll have A&M winning my NIT women's bracket as well.
good pick. Good pick.
The last round of 32 matchup, and this is a rematch of another round of 32 game we had a couple years ago. Texas A&M as the 10 seed versus Houston as the 2 seed. I'm gonna be honest. I just don't really see A&M winning this game. I think Houston will just get in our face. We'll feel their pressure. It'll cause our 3-point shooting to dip in a big way. We've shown this season that when teams are good offensively to get us off our rhythm, we don't really have guys that are like shot creators. That we have great shooters in that, like, the ball's moving around, the press is creating fast breaks, people are getting their looks, we'll knock them down. But when it comes to trying to play in the half court and against good defenses, we feel very bothered by contests and whatnot. And then also the size, I think Houston's physicality will show there. Even if they're not the biggest team either, they're bigger than us. So I feel very comfortable taking Houston to win this matchup and advance to the second weekend.
I'm taking the Houston Cougars as
Yeah.
well.
Same.
I like them in their matchup against the Aggies.
And I like to say, even if, say, we lose to St. Mary's, though I'm a St. Mary's hater, so I will be sad, this is very much feels like a happy-to-be-here season for A&M, given what
Absolutely.
Bucky McMillan came into and inherited.
Considering the roster.
2 minutes?
Yes.
Y'all had 2 returning minutes or
I think
something?
we had 8 minutes, and they were all non-conference blowout.
Okay.
And that he wasn't a scholarship player.
It was 8 total minutes,
Yes,
right?
and that's why he wasn't a scholarship player. So he did get into the SEC tournament game because we played so horribly that he tried to find some sort of spark. But
Now
that
what
moves
you
us
wanna
on
see?
to the Sweet 16, and we get the rematch that we've talked about multiple times already. 1-seeded Florida versus 5-seeded Vandy in the Sweet 16. They faced off most recently in the SEC tournament, and Vandy just quite honestly took it to Florida. I'm trying to pull it up right now and see what the final score is. 91-74.
Yeah. It was kind of a complete opposite of the other game.
Correct.
This year, we're in Vanderbilt, where Vanderbilt was playing really well at the time, and it felt like Florida really took it to them. Florida won 98-94 in that game, a lot closer, but Florida really controlled that game almost all throughout. So a fascinating, a third-time matchup. I really love. It's one reason I love the NBA playoffs is because when it's a 7-game series, you have the chess pieces that can move as
Yeah.
you play a team more often and more times. You learn a guy's tendencies. You have seen their offensive set, 30 times now instead of 10 times, and so you already know where the play is going to go. And so it fully comes down to execution, and then who can have the day that day. And both these teams have got guys who can have the day that day. So this would be a fascinating Sweet 16 matchup if we got it.
Yeah.
But I'll let you all give some thoughts before I give my pick.
The first thing is, like, it's so hard to shake the game we just saw and what Vandy just did, because it was so impressive and it was so dominant. And while Florida definitely has the front court advantage, I think an even just as much of a margin, potentially, Vandy has the backcourt edge with Tyler Tanner, Tyler Nickel, Duke Miles, and they're fearless too. Like, they don't care that they're smaller than Florida, and I think they know, or at least they think that they're better than Florida's guards, and they'll bring that confidence into this matchup yet again. And I think that's a really dangerous thing for Florida to have to grapple with, because if they don't get that under control early and they let Tyler Tanner and Duke Miles get going and let the team feed off that energy, it could snowball yet again. But that's kind of what I'm looking at. Anything, Sanders?
Yeah, I'm not gonna say. I don't struggle to not throw out that last game, but okay, it's in the past. This is still a very good Florida team and a very well coached Florida team.
Correct.
Who's already beat Vanderbilt once this year, I believe in Nashville.
Yes, but Vandy still scored 90-plus points in that game.
Right.
And then Vanderbilt beat them in Nashville.
Yeah, that's true. I guess neutral site game. Neutral site game. I forgot that the SEC tournament was in Nashville. Didn't they? Anyway, so I don't really think that bothers me that much, and I still think Florida's the better team in this matchup. So I'm gonna go and say I'm gonna pick Florida.
Sure. I'm taking Vandy.
I'm taking Vanderbilt as well. I think with the two matchups prior, Florida won't have felt tested, and I was going to use, in a spot like this, I would use an argument of, oh, well, I do think it's different this time because Florida has won 2 games prior to this and will come in rolling, as opposed to just winning 1 game prior to them playing Vanderbilt in the SEC tournament. I don't think it matters as much because I don't think Florida is going to feel any kind of test against the 2 worst teams in KenPom in the tournament that they'll play in the first round.
Yeah.
And then Iowa in the second round, which is just a bad matchup for Iowa. So I like Vanderbilt as well to beat Florida. I think this team is built well to maybe repeat as champions, but I do think they have a huge key difference. I don't think they have the guy they can trust down the stretch of a game,
Sure.
and especially in a high-scoring game like this. Now Thomas Howell has played really well this year and
Future
played
Spur.
well in big moments, but they don't have Walter Clayton this year, and I don't think they have Golden State Warrior legend Will Richard either, who had some really good games down the stretch last year as well. Now Howell stepped up in some big moments already last year in last year's tournament, but I think Vanderbilt's ready for them. They got a good matchup with Florida clearly, with the amount of points they've scored through 2 games, averaging 94.
Yeah.
So I'll take the Commodores.
And you think Vanderbilt's going to be tested after Troy and McNeese, the 12 and 13 seed?
Yeah, Amir Orakan and Victor Valdez.
Okay.
Tough matchups. Or they play Nebraska. The last thing I'll say, and this kind of general philosophy for me, is if I'm kind of 50-50 in a matchup, I think guard play wins in March. And so I'll probably just lean the team that has the better guard play, kind of what you were talking about, JP. Let's move on to the other Sweet 16 matchup.
Got a hater in the comments
Yeah,
section.
Lucy,
I know.
we started 2 hours ago.
53-year-old in the comment section.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lucy
That's
Hallmark,
actually
1973. Oh, you don't know when her birthday is. She might still be 52.
True.
Could still be 52.
Kirsten as well. With
Yeah, literally came
With
in here. We got a
minors
mods
in the chat.
ban
That's
her.
crazy.
Ban her. Imagine. Welcome, Lucy.
She's probably gone.
It probably is. She probably was like, I'm not going to watch any more of this. We started 2 hours ago. And we're almost halfway done.
Big matchup here. A bit of clash of styles. Illinois and their elite offense versus Houston and their defensive-oriented team. 2 great freshmen that have risen up draft boards. Keaton Wagler versus Kingston Flemings. Once just should be a fantastic matchup. Lots of storylines, lots of great individual matchups to watch. I do wonder if this is a matchup where Houston's lack of front court scoring gets to them. It's JoJo Tugler and Chris Sinak, and Sinak's a freshman. He's come along semi-well, but they don't really have a reliable option. Like they don't have someone they can throw it to in the post to go get him a bucket, for example. And I wonder if against the interior size Illinois has, even if they're not the best defensive team, if that's an issue. It's just something I'm looking at. What are y'all's thoughts on this?
Houston's not a small. Last year they didn't have a guy that bigger than 6'9". Was that or 6'7"? Was that the stat?
It's kind of similar this
my
year. But Jawan Roberts at least could still go get a bucket in the paint when they needed it. JoJo Tugler last year was just kind of a defensive specialist, was a fantastic defender, did the dirty work, got offensive rebounds. I think maybe they were hoping for a bit of a offensive leap from him this season. Not really. He's kind of the same player as last year, which is a great player, but doesn't really give him inside scoring presence. Similar from Chris Sinak, he's a guy maybe will shoot a three, can maybe get a bucket in the paint, but it's just another guy that's going to be great on the offensive glass, great defender, another great piece to have, but there's just not consistent inside scoring. But the guards are great.
Yeah, I don't think Houston gets it done here. I think Illinois gets it done.
That's the way I'm leaning.
I thought I was about to make a left field pick, and y'all both picked before me. That's crazy.
While I do think Houston is an under-seeded 2 seed, they haven't been great this year against really good teams. They're only really their biggest win of the season is beating Kansas in the Big 12 tournament.
Yeah.
I guess the other one, if you count, maybe beating BYU.
Yep.
At BYU earlier this
Beat
year.
Arkansas.
They did beat Arkansas, but Arkansas is a 5 seed, Kansas 4 seed.
They beat Oakland. Not Jack Golke's not there anymore, but
Sure. I like Illinois in this game. One thing that scares me, and Jack already kind of touched on, is I don't think they have a reliable guy they can go to down the stretch of a game, and I don't think that hurts them if they're leading in the final 5 minutes. But if they're trailing or being forced to trade buckets, I do think it hurts them. I thought that showed its head last year against Florida down the stretch of that game in the national championship. So I like Illinois to win this one.
Yeah. I mean, down the stretch, the ball's going to be put in Kingston Fleming's hands, and he's just going to have to go make a play.
Yeah.
He very well could. But I think Illinois is the team that, with each passing hour, I'm, falling more and more in love with as the team to make a run that's not like a 1 or 2 seed. Maybe spoilers there.
maybe.
That leads us to the Elite Eight matchup in the South region to finish off this region, and it's 5 seed Vanderbilt versus 3 seed Illinois, so a lot less chalky than our East region. This would be a matchup of fireworks, so much scoring, big time shot after big time shot. We've already talked about these teams multiple times, so I'm just going to go in and give my pick, and then maybe we can talk about how this maybe would shake out matchup-wise. But I like Illinois to win this game and make the Final Four.
I like Vanderbilt.
Okay.
I think Vanderbilt wins this one, makes the Final Four. Yeah, I'm going to take the Commodores.
Sure.
So good luck, Sanders.
JP, I swear this is not just, to make it so that you don't have a team win for the
Feel
first
free.
time in 63 plus just did another you're up to 75 80 games that you've now picked. Your pick has been the team that advanced. I'm going Illinois. My model is picking Illinois. And so for the first time in the history of this show, JP did not pick the team that the podcast picked. So I've got Illinois also in the Final Four. I would have picked Florida. Florida would have been. I'll go ahead and unfortunately my model would have had all 4 1 seeds in the Final Four.
Well, they're all 4 historically great 1 seeds that
Correct.
pass the benchmarks for real elite
Correct.
teams.
It is but it's sad when it's if you want to I want to use my model to pick my brackets. Well, this kind of sucks. It's hard to
Yeah, I kind of have a motto of I just kind of refuse to have all 4 1 seeds go to the Final Four. That moves us up though into the, as Sanders would say, the top right region. As it is officially called, it is the West region, where Arizona is the 1 seed. and they will face off against the 16 seed Long Island Sharks. Fins up every. Thank you. I'm really sad Long Island's a 16 seed, not going to lie. Not that it's not deserved metric-wise, but I can't even, like, play around or, like, pretend that they're, like, I want to pick them for an upset. But they've kind of become a darling of this, I don't know, this tournament season with their kind of rise to being a good team. Their whole fins up thing with, like, 5 people in the crowd. It's a fun bunch. The 2 guys that just like decided they were going to be their team and have rode with them. It's a cool story. But they play Arizona, who has lost 2 games all season, I believe, led by Bryce James. No, I'm just
No, soon to be led by Bryce
yeah,
James,
soon to be
maybe.
led by
But
Bryce James.
they lost 2 games in the same week too.
Yes,
So you could just say they had a bad week.
They had a bad week. They're so deep, and sometimes I think depth is overrated in March. But they have, like, impact depth, and I don't know if that makes sense in terms of, like, any one of their top 8 guys could go and, like, legitimately lead this team. Not like, oh, this guy's pretty good, and he's their 8th man. He can come, like, off the bench and, score 8 points and get a couple rebounds and, like, do the little things. No, it's like, oh, their 8th man may just come and, like, lead the team in scoring, score 20-plus, be a legit difference maker. And that's kind of how the depth feels different to me and what I would call impact depth, even though that's, like, not a real thing, but like that's just another way I can think to explain it as like why I think it really matters. I mean, in the Big 12 championship game, no, the semifinal game against Iowa State, which was fantastic, and Mom Chilovich is raining threes.
Yeah.
And then the guy from Australia, Del Orso, I think is his name,
Yes.
is answering right back, and it's like, yeah, he's not necessarily been a major player all season, but this guy's got hurt, and now he stepped up, and he just like can't miss, and it's like, oh, sick. Like, stuff like that makes them feel like they're so hard to beat, along with how good they are defensively and their really good guard play with Bradley and Burries. Sorry, Long Island. That being said, I don't really think you have a chance.
Yeah, there's really no one more dangerous than a confident shooter. And even though De La Rosa hasn't had a great season, he had a great day that day. One thing to monitor, Braden Burries hurt his left hand in that game. And while he's right-handed, how willing will he be to go to his left and keep his versatility as a scorer? If you're looking for a metric to help with the Sharks, they are the luckiest team in the tournament per Kim Palm's luck metric.
I do really like that, actually.
They are the 12th luckiest team in college basketball.
So maybe Arizona gets food poisoning the night before.
How are you a top 11 luckiest team in the country and you don't even make the tournament?
I don't know. In fact, all of these 11 teams weren't really even close. Morehead State did play for their conference title, and then Liberty was also the 1 seed in their Conference USA, but neither of those teams made the tournament.
That sounds very unlucky to me. I'm just saying.
Second in luck is Miami of Ohio.
Wow.
The Redhawks.
Checks out.
And the other first 4 game. That being said, LIU played the 15th weakest schedule in college basketball, 350th. So they haven't played Arizona, really anyone, maybe not even a team that if you combined all of the players' talent would stack up with some of the players like Koa Pete. Although they did play, LIU did play Illinois. So
Would you like to reveal how that game went for them?
they lost by 40.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Hey, they kept it close to with Mississippi State. I didn't realize that y'all played LIU this year.
Yes, we did. Beat them by 4.
Huge win.
Yeah, huge win. I'm gonna take the Wildcats.
That's a tournament victory for y'all. Y'all beat a tournament team.
We did beat a tournament team this year.
Defended home court. Any differing off of the Wildcats? Okay.
No, I will not be using my veto here.
This takes us to the 8 seed versus 9 seed matchup in the West, and it's 8 seeded Villanova versus 9 seed Utah State. And I'm going to be honest off rip in my assessment. This is the weakest 8-9 matchup to me.
Sure.
I'm not the biggest fan of either of these teams. You could say Iowa Clemson, maybe you don't really like that 8-9 matchup either. But Villanova didn't play. They're in the Big East. They didn't play a super strong schedule. Their best win is Wisconsin out of conference. They got bodied by Michigan out of conference. They lost to BYU out of conference. They didn't really win any of their big East games. So they lost to St. John's both times and UConn both times. So I don't really. I'm very unsure of their quality. I guess it seems like they're potentially a team that just handled business, but isn't someone that's going to beat a good team. And then Utah State is in the vaunted Mountain West, where it seems like every year their teams underwhelm in the tournament and don't really perform. So that's kind of what we're looking at there. Any thoughts or stats on this matchup?
Yeah, I lied earlier. Utah State is also favored as a 9-seeder. Villanova
Gotcha.
by 2.5. I really like Utah State's style of play. At least
Sure.
they run up and down the floor. Like I don't really haven't seen a team run in transition much faster than they do. I do think like Utah State, if they're to advance, is kind of live to maybe give Arizona a run. They run because of the speed that they run at. I think they can really get out in transition. I think they can put some of Arizona's best players in foul trouble. And MJ Collins is a really capable shooter. They run him around like Steph Curry, running a bunch of curl screens and flare screens and whatnot. The problem is they lack rim protection. They do not protect the rim very well. They give up offensive rebounds a lot. So you think about like Koa Pete and then the big man. What's his name?
Krivas?
What's his
Krivas,
last
right?
name? Not Krivas. No, the other one. The one that comes off the bench.
It's going to drive me crazy. Oh, Awaka?
Yes.
Yeah.
He, I think, would just dominate against Utah State. That being said, I think Utah State with their speed might be able to keep up with them. I'm going to take the Aggies of Utah State as my pick.
Do they also say gig 'em?
That I don't know.
They don't
Probably
say
not.
gig 'em.
Because our
as
game,
a former Utah State head coach in the video game college football, they do not.
because our Gig'em slogan is not related to us being the Aggies. So
okay.
it's kind of a separate thing. I also will go with the Aggies. Logically, I just don't like this Villanova team, and also I saw a picture. They do a cool cow pattern in their basketball arena stands.
Oh,
where
That
it's
was very cool.
It's like they got the black blotches on the white.
That is
I don't know
very
how you
cool.
set that up. It seems pretty difficult.
I don't think so.
I just feel like most times people try and pull that off, and it just doesn't look.
You put out
great.
free T-shirts.
Yeah, but then people have to show up for a Utah State basketball game.
Well, when
enough
you're
to pack it out.
28 and you only got 6 losses, Utah State fans are going to show up.
I'm just saying, like, I don't think A&M would pack out the non-student section like that. I don't think State would necessarily pack out
If
the
y'all
non-student
only had 6
section
losses,
like that. Maybe if we only had 6 losses.
yeah, I think that like you got to think about everything like relative, like
Maybe.
because like in the Mountain West, I mean Utah State won the Mountain West, right? And so I'm assuming they're 9 seed. I'm gonna assume they won it. They're
They
an
did.
automatic
They beat
qualifier.
San Diego
Yeah.
State.
Regardless, it looked cool.
It
That's
did
what I'll
look
say.
very cool. It did look very cool. That's not a. I shouldn't have started trying to argue that. It did look very cool. We can go ahead and move on because I would also pick Utah State
Cool.
here.
In the West, the 5-seed Wisconsin will face off against the 12-seeded High Point Panthers. Their second straight NCAA appearance, High Point that is, and they face Wisconsin, who is very hot right now. This is a tough draw for High Point.
Yeah, back-to-back
Excuse
years
me.
of tough draws.
You could argue it's a tough draw for Wisconsin as well. Some things about Wisconsin: number 11th in KenPom on offensive rating, but only number 51 in defensive rating. So much better offensive team than defense. They don't turn the ball over. They're third in three-pointers attempted and third in three-pointers made in the country. So they're going to hit a ton of threes. They're led by the backcourt tandem of Nick Boyd and John Blackwell. And then one injury thing to note, Nolan Winter, a forward on their team, has missed a couple weeks due to a hurt ankle, but he should be ready for the NCAA tournament, so just something to keep on. And then they got a couple other shooters on their team. But not a great defensive team, and that's highlighted. They're 212th in opponent two-point percentage. They give up opponents make 52.3% of their two-point shots against Wisconsin.
Not great.
So they can be had inside. And then all I really got on High Point, they're very small, that plays fast and forces a bunch of turnovers. It feels like kind of the classic, like high-seeded mid-major,
Yeah.
conference winner of like, we don't really have the size, but we're gonna run and we're gonna shoot and we're gonna be aggressive because what do we have to lose?
Mm-hmm.
Terry Anderson is their leading scorer, 16 points per game, and then they have a guy who's kind of become a darling. So y'all probably heard his name, Chase Johnston, 6 points per game. Hasn't made a 2 all season. But he shoots 49% from 3. And I believe he wears 99.
That's sick.
Remarkable.
So potential March Madness legend there, Chase Johnston. Thoughts on this matchup?
It's on Thursday. It's at 12:50 Central. So this will be a game that is on whiteboards across the country in schools, and a lot of people will be cheering on High Point.
Sure.
A lot of eyeballs will be on this game. I just feel like it's again another bad matchup for High Point. Last
Completely
year
agree.
they played Purdue in the first round, and that Purdue team, they just had a better day than High Point did that day, and High Point couldn't get it done. I think that the lack of size is just going to matter in a game like this. I think about a team that shoots the 3 ball as much as Wisconsin does, shoots it as well as they do, and then I think about, the other team doesn't have size, meaning we're going to get offensive rebounds and get to shoot more threes. That's when you get your best 3-point attempts. It's off an offensive rebound when everyone's crashed the boards and then you kick out for another opportunity. I think that's just going to hurt High Point in this game. So I'll take the Badgers to beat High Point in advance.
I'll also take Wisconsin.
Yeah, I'll also take. Excuse me. I would take High Point here. They would be favored.
High Point favored?
Whoa.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me double check that and be sure that's right. Is that right?
This would be a stunner.
Hold up.
Wisconsin's favored by 9.5 per Vegas.
9.
But per the Sanders model,
Yeah, High Point is my power rankings. They are. Guess where they are in the power
Let's say
rankings?
10th.
10th.
okay, that's great.
So is this your veto then?
No, I'm
Okay.
saving my veto.
Oh wow.
I wonder who you're saving it for. Interesting.
But I would vote. Where does Wisconsin fall? Wisconsin would be. They're 5.5 point favorites over Wisconsin. Wisconsin's my 41st
Wow.
power rank team.
This is a big island for the limb
I'll
for
go
the
ahead
model
and
to go off.
So the
onto.
breakdown is High Point on offense scores almost 14 points above expected, above opponents' average allowed, and they hold opponents 3 points below what they usually score. Wisconsin, on the other hand, scores 10 points above average and holds opponents to only 1 point below average. So that's the reasoning there. So my model would have High Point as 5.5 point favorites.
Cool. But you're gonna take Wisconsin.
I'm gonna pick Wisconsin.
Okay.
I'm saving my veto.
That's a big limb for the model to go out on. Next matchup, the 4 seed versus the 13 seed, and it's 4 seed Arkansas, fresh off their SEC tournament champ crown, facing off against the Rainbow Warriors of Hawaii as the 13 seed,
Do you know High Point's mascot? I'm sorry to
the
interrupt.
Panthers.
Panthers.
Mm-hmm.
I do not have dyslexia, but I might have logo dyslexia because whenever I see High Point, I think Grand Canyon.
That
And
is interesting of you.
It's they're purple and it's 3 letters.
Yeah, they're like outlined
Yeah,
letters. Yeah,
like-
sure. They are not Grand Canyon.
Yeah,
They're-
sorry to interrupt. That
No,
was
you're
just
good.
like a tangent. I literally had that in my mind the entire time we were talking about that game, and then forgot to say it. I got distracted, so I had to throw
Yeah.
it out there that I
You're good.
can tell them apart, but I have to like really be like, wait, which one is that High Point or Grand Canyon? They look the same to me, even though they look very different.
Well, headline about 4 seed Arkansas is Darius Acuff, the play of him down the stretch, and just how complete and good of a point guard he is, at least offensively. The defense can be a little hit or miss at times, right? But with that being said, he's such a good offensive player. Just leads. He's the engine. Assists, scoring, whatever you need, you name it. And then, shocker, John Calipari team has tons of talent, and so he's surrounded by just athletic freaks. Malik Thomas, another fellow freshman in the backcourt, has been really good as well. Billy Richmond, the Billy Goat, makes just eye-popping plays. Big dunks, big steals. Trevon Brazil's been very good. I'm kind of holding down the front court. Great team, and they're hot right now. And then considering they're led by Acuff, it kind of feels like the sky's the limit for that bunch. And then really all I have on Hawaii is the fact that they play no switch defense, and so I'm very interested to see how that plays against Acuff and like how that goes with him running the pick and
Well,
roll.
On that, their shortest starter is 6'6".
As well as say they're also big, and
Yeah.
they have a legit 7-footer, which is not something very many like mid majors can say.
Yeah.
And he's good, and they'll play through him in the post. He's their leading scorer. So it's a very interesting matchup. It kind of feels like a house of cards for Hawaii, where it's like you're trying all the things that in theory could work, but like if one thing goes wrong, suddenly Arkansas beats you by 25.
Yeah.
Thoughts on this matchup?
It's also played on Thursday, and
Mm-hmm.
Arkansas already, like Calipari already complained throughout the SEC tournament of the scheduling, where they're finishing games, past midnight and then playing the next day, and then played on Sunday. In the SEC tournament, now he has to turn around and play on Thursday, and they'll have to travel for this game as well. So maybe something to look at for Arkansas being tired, maybe, and maybe that's a reason you could pick Hawaii. Also with the Hawaii size, maybe there's something to lean to there. Something that just separates good players from great players is they just score the ball more, and it's very simple
Sure.
to say that, but when you watch someone like Acuff play, he just scores the ball more than everyone. He makes more shots. He has more moves to get more open shots. And a player of that ability, I think, is going to be hard to stop for a mid-major at least. And so I like Arkansas
I mean,
to
he's
win
hard
this game.
for good teams to stop. Like he's
Absolutely.
incredible. So
Just go watch his bag from the SEC tournament, and he had some incredible moves and incredible games.
Sure.
Some ridiculous shots, including 2 different shots where he hit corner threes off an inbound with the dude all up in his face. Didn't matter. So I think Arkansas gets it done against Hawaii. I don't think this is another year where Kentucky loses a game to a mid-major, shockingly.
Arkansas. But yes,
Or John Calipari loses one, like Oakland and St. Peter's.
yeah.
that was the last point I was going to make is which you could say, considering this season and maybe even a little bit of last season, he's, he's washed Kentucky, what led to him to get fired from Kentucky. But also one of the biggest things Kentucky fans were getting on him for is just like lack of in-game management in big games and not necessarily his ability to get talent and really good players. So, hey, maybe if that is really true, they'll struggle in this kind of game if it's close or maybe, even in the round of 32. But I just think they're so talented. I'm going with Arkansas. And I think Acuff helps something like that in terms of in-game management. He can, if there are some legit issues there, he can alleviate some of that by how good and cerebral he is.
I'll also go Arkansas. Who is Arizona's star?
I mean, it's Jaden Bradley was Big 12 Player of the Year, but it's like,
Him and Braden Burries.
yeah, I was gonna say they really are more of a
But they
depth
also have
team
Koa Pete.
than like a real
Okay.
apex guy on their team.
I was just trying to think like what's the first like phenom, specifically freshman phenom, but there aren't like a lot of freshman phenom out there that we would see.
That we see play?
Yeah, that we'd see play each other.
Oh, play each other.
Yeah.
I see.
Sorry, that was like a very. I was trying to think like, would you qualify? Like, would someone on Arizona? Would you say is Darius Acuff level,
You would. I mean,
or
you'd
is
see.
it Dabonsa versus Acuff and maybe the Elite Eight?
No,
I'm
you'd see
looking.
it just as early if it was Kansas and Duke,
Yeah.
Cameron Boozer and Darren Peterson.
Okay.
In
In
that
the
one you
Sweet
get
16.
Sweet 16. Yeah.
Sweet 16, Illinois, Houston, Kingston Flemings, and Keaton Wagler
Yeah.
would feel kind of fit that same vibe and similar bill. But yeah, no one would really meet before the round of 16 in terms of like just
The
true
round.
elite
We're calling it
freshmen.
the round of 16.
The Sweet 16, excuse me.
Okay, cool. I was just curious because like I was just looking at the bracket and like Arkansas and BYU right next to each other, but obviously they wouldn't play until the Elite Eight
Yeah.
because they go opposite directions. But it just made me wonder like what would be the earliest like future NBA draft pick matchup that we would see.
Yeah.
But we can go ahead and move on to that BYU game.
Yeah, it'll be the 6 versus 11, and it's the 11 seeds. That's the first 4, so you don't really fully know who's going to come out. But it's either Texas or NC State. Both teams that did not finish down the stretch well. They kind of limped in and then got in because of a weak bubble. But they both also have good talent on that team. I mean, Darren Williams was at Texas Tech last year and was making a name for himself in this very tournament. He's now at NC State. Dalen Swain has been really good at Texas down the stretch this season, and they have other good scorers on that team. But the winner of that will face BYU, and BYU, unfortunately, I would say their second best player. Richie Saunders towards ACL about a month ago, a little less than a month ago, and they've not, unsurprisingly, they've not fully recovered from that. He was someone that not only the scoring punch he gave you at 18 points a game, but he also was just a senior. He was good at calming the group down, getting the offense into their sets better than someone like a Rob Wright would. Not that Rob Wright is bad, but they've just really missed his presence. And once again, 18 points a game in college, like replacing that is really, really difficult. So now it really has become the AJ DeBonsa show, and then Rob Wright kind of as his Robin. His usage rate is up to 33% on the season, and it's like basically 40% since Richie Saunders has come out. And so it's become pretty clear BYU is going to go as far as AJ DeBonsa can carry them. Will he have a game where he has like 25 and he's really efficient, or will it be like a game where he has 35 and he's shooting 50% from the floor and they win? That really becomes the question. I don't think there's tons of other, what's the word I'm looking for?
Talking points.
Yeah, talking points. I mean, maybe it's like who else can step up in the Richie Saunders absence. A guy like Mboop or someone like that. Dawson Baker, perchance, kind of in the wake. But regardless, do y'all think BYU has enough to get over this first game at least?
Yeah, I would be surprised if either of these two teams. I think maybe Texas less surprising than NC State, but still would be surprising if BYU lost to either of these two teams. I think they're well coached. I think they'll be ready for that first game.
I just don't think either team has the defense to really slow DeBonsa.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't like the matchups there for DeBonsa. So I would take maybe the show's BYU Cougars.
My definitively are questionably BYU Cougars.
I still don't know how this became JP's BYU Cougars when I was the one that picked them to go over in their season win total, and y'all both picked them to go under.
Well, you and me potentially jumped ship, and JP would argue he stayed on the boat.
Yeah.
I see. So blind fanaticism is the goal. Got it. I would also go BYU. My question: did y'all see the quote about him saying that he only had one chance at this?
I did not see that.
Yeah, which is just funny because he also had the quote like, a month ago, was like, I'm thinking about coming back to school. So it turns out he's not surprised.
I mean, he's going to give it his all, and he has
Yeah.
down this whole stretch. He's played 40 minutes a couple times, and he probably will play 40 minutes in this tournament game if it's close, which will probably lead to him having some defensive lapses off ball. But, he plays 40 minutes. What can you expect? So
Yep.
BYU's moving on. Down the line, 3-seeded Gonzaga versus 14-seeded Kennesaw State. I believe, is this basketball have a Kennesaw State owl on it?
Yeah, this is from Kennesaw State basketball camp, local university from
Sure.
where I'm from. This is it is 2000 and either 11 or 12 basketball camp.
Sure.
I got this ball signed by the players on that team. That team was really bad that year. This is KSU's second appearance in the tournament ever. Last time they were
Wow.
a 13 seed, sorry, and faced off against Xavier. Was really close in that game and lost it. For me, not only because of my affinity for KSU, I am the former head coach at Kennesaw State in the College Hoops 2K8 video game. I coached there for 6 years and led this team to the Sweet 16 as a 13 seed. Also won a 15 versus 2 matchup as a 15 seed, of course. Not only my affinity for the friends I have that have gone there to that university. Not only that, my father was a professor at that university. Not only did I, go to basketball
Sure.
camps there as well as a basketball savant, I would say. But they have an incredible story this year. The KSU, they're led by R.J. Johnson and their two forwards, Braden Liu and Franquan Sherman, which is a sick name.
Yeah, it's dope.
R.J. Johnson's a combo guard. He's a physical ball handler. I do think something to note, which may hurt them. In the final 5 minutes of the game, it is essentially just sets to create ISOs for R.J. Johnson and let him just play one-on-one.
So they're going to live or die by that.
Yes, and he doesn't have a deep bag. His one-on-one moves are try to get to the rim and out-physical and you finish.
So probably die by that.
Yes, they'll probably die by that, especially with the matchup against Gonzaga. They had a guy, though, who was scoring 20-plus a game to start the season, and that was through their first 17 games. But he was found guilty of fixing games by shaving points
Nice.
in games that he played for Kennesaw State in 2024, where he would fix
So,
games by shaving
a year
points at
ago.
the end of the game, and have one of his buddies bet on whatever spread he needed to have. Most of the time, it was the other team covering the spread against KSU.
Yeah.
So he was found guilty of that and was suspended indefinitely by the NCAA. He was
Deserved.
their best player by far. He was averaging 20-plus a game.
Yeah, that hurts.
And so they've battled through that. That happened mid-season on game 18. They lost their best player, not to like an injury, but like, can you imagine like losing your boy in the locker room to he cheated in a betting scandal?
Yeah, that hurts. That creates some distrust.
That's a
and
completely
whatnot.
different thing. It's from someone, your boy tearing your ACL like Reggie Saunders with BYU. It's your boy was actually a liar and a cheater and impacted the integrity of the game. So they've battled through that. They were the 6th seed in their Conference USA tournament and battled all the way and won that tournament. I do think, like, if you're going to, which I'm going to watch this game, of course, as a KSU Owl
You have
fan and former head coach there, if there's a guy you're looking for to maybe have a March moment to beat Gonzaga, which Gonzaga just doesn't lose in the first round or the second round, it's Caden Rickard.
Okay.
Wears number 4. He's an excellent passer, especially on lobs. So look for him to maybe feed one of our 2 forwards on a lob to dunk on someone for Gonzaga. This team did beat Liberty, which we applaud them for that because we
Yes.
do not like Liberty on this pod. And they only lost to Alabama by just 11 points at Alabama.
It's not bad at all.
I think the score was
I'm
like
assuming they had their best player at the time.
Yes, they did. But it was Alabama scored 100-plus points that game, and they only lost by 11.
Yeah.
So there's kind of your consensus on Kennesaw State, and then they get, of course, the brutal matchup with the Gonzaga Bulldogs in the last year of the Western Coast Conference, the
Yeah.
WCC. They ended up winning the WCC over Santa Clara.
Yeah, about this Gonzaga team, I'm not the biggest fan of this version. Partially because I'm just not, but also they're missing Braden Huff. He's been out since I believe sometime in January with is it an ankle or a knee?
It was a
issue?
knee issue,
Knee
if I'm not
issue.
mistaken.
And he's been ruled out. He's trying to ramp back up, but he's been ruled out for the first weekend of the tournament at least. And missing that much time, it's hard to believe he's going to come back, even if he's ready for Sweet 16 Elite 8, and just like return to form. He was averaging 18 points a game, was a really good defender. And so I just feel like they've taken a bit of a step back from them. Like, I don't think they lose to the Portland Pilots, for example, if he's around.
Yeah.
But without him, they still have Graham Ike, who averaged 19.7 points a game and led the conference. Tyron Grant Foster's there, the guy from Grand Canyon. He's had a pretty good season scoring the ball. They're still a good team. Like, I'm going to pick them to beat Kennesaw State. And once again, it's kind of their thing is to win at least a couple games in the tournament. But this is not a Gonzaga team that really scares me. I'll say that. Unlike typically I see the Gonzaga team and I'm like, oh, I would not want to play this team in the tournament. I think I kind of would be excited to play this team in the tournament in terms of compared to like other 3 seeds, that is. Any thoughts, Sanders?
What does the model say?
Kennesaw State by 12.
No, it has Gonzaga by 14.
Cool.
So
Okay, well, that's under the spread for the actual game. The spread is Gonzaga minus 20.5.
So we'll all pick Gonzaga there, and we can move on. I'm actually working trying to fix something that broke.
Gotcha.
I'm going to
Okay.
pick Kennesaw State,
Oh,
but I'm not going to
You-
veto it.
Okay.
okay.
I'm saving it. I have one in mind for the last region.
Gotcha.
That I expect at least. So I'm going to take KSU, but Gonzaga. Plus the me never getting a pick is already off the board, so it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
True.
Fair. Well, it brings us to our 7 versus 10 matchup in this region. It's number 7 Miami versus number 10 Missouri, an ACC versus SEC matchup. Very impressive first year for Miami under Jai Lucas, former Duke assistant coach. He's gone there and done well. Malik Renault is their leading scorer. Kind of another guy that's been around the block a bit. Trey Donaldson is there. He's having a good season, averaging 16.5 points and 6 assists. So a couple other kind of key stats on their team as I try and kill time till I scroll to them. They're a great rebounding team. They're top 30 in both defensive rebounding percentage and offensive rebounding percentage, and that's really how they win because they're not a fantastic shooting team, but they create second chance opportunities from that and then go from there. It's a toughish matchup for them. Missouri's a pretty big team as well, so maybe rebounding will be tough, but also Missouri is not exactly a team that's coming in super hot, so it kind of feels like just kind of a toss-up 7-10 matchup. But y'all's thoughts here?
I just wanted to. This is something of note. Head coach Jay Lucas, who you just talked about for Miami, he said he likes when his guards played running back in high school. When he talks about physicality, Miami plays very physical ball.
Yeah.
I think Sanders wanted to mention this earlier. So Sanders, if you want to tee up the location thing, was this something you wanted to mention?
Yeah, this is exactly what I want to talk about. It's in St. Louis. So it's a home game for Missouri, which it's just a tough, terrible draw for Miami that you have earned, this higher seed. And it's pretty standard that, especially among like the top seeds, that they'll get like, a Texas team will get the Oklahoma City regional, and then a Northeastern team will get like I don't know what I know in women's basketball they play in Storrs, Connecticut, I believe a good bit, or somewhere in Connecticut.
Buffalo, New
yeah,
York.
Buffalo, New York. And then a West Coast team will get a California game, like in Los Angeles or something. And so it sucks for Miami that they have to go to St. Louis, which is like
St. Louis is 100 miles from Columbia, Missouri, and then Miami is 1,000 miles from St. Louis, so 10x the amount of miles.
It's pretty bad.
So it will be a home game for Missouri, which is really unfortunate. And then there's something else where if they win that,
they'll play Purdue, and it'll be a home game against Purdue, essentially.
yeah, because
Sure.
it's
We
still
assume
a
they'll
lot.
play Purdue.
We
Yeah.
do assume.
Maybe Queens got them.
Thank you, Harris. Bridgeport is where the women often play regional, not Storrs. I think Storrs is where UConn is.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it just sucks for Missouri that they have to. Sucks for Miami. It's great for Missouri. Missouri fans have to be
Ecstatic.
over the roof. Exactly,
Yeah.
ecstatic about the situation they found themselves in.
Elated.
Yep. And so that'll be something to keep your eye on. I'm actually thinking about adding the home court advantage back into the model for this game and to see what happens.
Sure.
Which would make a lot of sense just because it is really going to be a home game for Missouri.
That will matter, but I don't think it's going to matter enough. I like Miami here.
I do too.
Because of the rebounding, and then also Missouri turns the ball over a lot. So assuming Miami can keep getting those offensive rebounds at the rate they normally do, and then can turn the ball over or turn Missouri over, which really is not that hard. Like watching Missouri, they're kind of just giving you some of those turnovers, not really the work of the other team. And so I think you're just going to have enough extra possessions from that and get extra shots to win this game and advance to the second round.
Who did Missouri lose to in the SEC tournament?
They lost to Kentucky.
Yeah, I watched that game, and number 25 from Missouri went. I think it was 25. It's
Mark Mitchell.
Yeah. Dude, he went
He's a good player.
off.
Yeah, he's a
It
fantastic player.
was crazy. I think he finished with. Did he finish with 30 plus points?
32.
Yeah. And he almost. I mean, it was a close game, right? They ended up losing by 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
but they were down kind of big, and then he reeled Kentucky
He
back
went
in.
off. So that was really cool. I hope to see him. I feel like it's gonna have a little bit of sour taste if they do win because of the home field advantage thing. But I do hope to see a good game from him, and it should be entertaining to watch them compete versus Miami. But we're all picking Miami.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Hurricanes.
Let's do it.
I've got Miami minus 5 points without home field, and home court is like 3 to 3.5 in basketball, right?
Yeah,
Somewhere in there.
Miami is only favored by 1.5 in this game.
Gotcha.
But we all got the Hurricanes, and now we
I think
move
that's the first spread I've talked about where I
have the favorite.
have the favorite.
Favored more than what they are favored by. We move to Purdue and Queens, though, and this is Queens' first time in the NCAA tournament.
And it is not Purdue players in New York. It is not Queens, New York.
Yes.
They're in like North Carolina.
North Carolina.
So the more you know.
Interesting.
This is kind of more the same Purdue team, except they don't have the massive big man. They do. Daniel Jacobson, I think is his name, but he doesn't play a ton. He's only a sophomore, and so it really is just by more the same. I mean, you have Braden Smith is still around.
Yep.
Fletcher Lawyer is still there. Trey Kaufman-Wren is still there. It's like that trio still doing what they do. Great offensive bunch led by Braden Smith. The defense can get a little suspect at times. They're number 37 in defensive rating on KenPom, which is like, out of all 365 teams, that's a great number. But out of like all the other, top 8 teams, like, they're a 2 seed. That's not exactly the best mark for a 2 seed, and it could end up catching them at some point. But yeah, I mean, just based off their offense and their experience, I say that this group has been, a lot of these people were on the team that lost to Farley Dickinson. But no, I think Purdue can handle Queens just fine with that kind of group.
I would second that.
Any disagreement, JP?
I mean, we've seen it before,
We have.
and I'll say the FDU win is unflippin' believable, considering FDU's tallest guy was, I think, 6'5", 6'6",
FDU, believe it.
and you were playing against Zach Edey.
Yeah.
And you go back and watch that game. I don't even know how they did it. It was just an incredible day that they had, and they ended up losing to a team that plays in the Final Four in FAU in the next round. So maybe they could have had some kind of like St. Peter's run had they not played a Final Four team in Dusty May's FAU Owls. But I like Purdue. I will take Purdue. I've already taken a 15 seed to win today. I'm not going to take a second.
Sure. Yep. Let's get on to the round of 32 in this side then. And maybe we can kind of speed through a couple of these as we're already reaching. We're crawling towards 3 hours. We have a whole region to go still. Arizona versus Utah State. I'm taking Arizona. The depth and just talent on this team, I think, will overwhelm Utah State. I know JP kind of already made a case while Utah State could maybe hang with. But I feel pretty comfortable Arizona here in this matchup.
Yeah, I think they could potentially shoot well enough to be in it, but I watch Arizona this year, and I watch them in the Big 12 tournament, and I just see their ability to score inside and out is just terrific. So I don't think, with Utah State's lack of rim protection, that was something they struggled with against San Diego State in the Mountain West Championship game. I like the Wildcats. I think they will get it done. Because like we talked about earlier, they only lost twice this year, and it was both in the same week. So they've only had one bad week all year. That being said, maybe they're due for a bad week.
Maybe.
So I say all that to say Utah State might beat Arizona.
Cool.
But I'd give me the Wildcats.
I'm also going Arizona.
Cool. This brings us to a 5-seed Wisconsin facing off against a 4-seed Arkansas. And one of the better round of 32 matchups, I'd argue, just with the way both these teams are playing right now and the guard play that both of these teams have with Nick Boyd, John Blackwell for Wisconsin, and then Darius Acuff and Malik Thomas for Arkansas. I like Arkansas here personally. I think that possibly could be some SEC bias sneaking in of just like I've watched a lot of this Arkansas team this year, and I love what Acuff brings to the table and just the athleticism that the rest of the team has and the size they can play with too. I think this Arkansas team is going to be a really hard team to beat. And so I'll take them to beat Wisconsin.
Concur. Razorbacks.
Are we going to have to say Woo Pig Soo? I mean,
Woo
I
pig
agree.
sucky.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
can say.
Yeah, I'm good with that. Are you?
I'm
not?
also going Arkansas
Okay,
there,
cool.
so we can keep moving.
BYU versus Gonzaga. A matchup of teams both missing key players, and they will both be missing those key players for this game. I personally will be riding with my boy AJ DeBonsa. This could be. I basically to make this pick, I'm banking on him to have a cinematic and all-time March Madness performance to beat Gonzaga, but I think he can have it. He said he only gets this chance once.
Yeah.
So here's his spot. Go get a win and advance to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, he leads all of college basketball in points per game.
Yeah.
Individually, 25.3, which he was at 24.9 going into the Big 12 title game, and then he breaks Kevin Durant's freshman record for points in a single game with 45 against Kansas State. I do think he's going to have a really incredible tournament. With all of the incredible freshmen, he's one of the guys that I most want to see just play as many games as possible.
I think they got a really good draw too.
Yeah.
For like, sure, they're kind of limping in here, but so are Texas, NC State, Gonzaga's beat up, and I say I hate St. Mary's. I think I'm really just in general not the biggest fan of the West Coast Conference teams, but I think they could handle Gonzaga. I'm not saying I'm going to pick them to beat Purdue, but I think Purdue's one of the weaker 2 seeds, and they have some defensive issues where like they may struggle to just contain DeBonsa, and he could just feast yet again. So it could be a really special run for him, but time will tell.
I'm picking Gonzaga.
Does not matter.
Doesn't matter, but I just wanted to put that out there. They are my 4th highest ranked.
This is
team.
when
4th power ranked
you're
team.
kind of in a win-win spot.
True, because
if me and JP are right, then like you're with the group, no one thinks of it. If we're wrong, then you're like, y'all should have listened to me. Last round of 32 matchup here: 7 seed Miami versus 2 seed Purdue Boilermakers. Could be a fun matchup. Thankfully, Missouri's lost, so there's no more home field shenanigans here. I have Purdue here. I think their offense can get them at least the second weekend, just with how good it is. Braden Smith is his last March Madness. Maybe he has a bit of a special run in him. And I do like this Miami team, but I don't love them. I don't know if they have like the shot making to score with Purdue. Though maybe they just grab enough offensive rebounds, but I'm still rolling with Purdue.
Yeah, I got the Boilermakers as well.
same. It feels like Braden Smith's been playing since 2008.
He kind of looks like it too.
Yeah.
He does.
I don't know why that just came to mind, but you were just like, it's his last. You said it was his last
Well,
March
theoretically,
Madness, last dance.
we'll see what temporary
Yeah.
restraining order or injunction he
Yeah.
files for.
Possible.
Yeah. I will also go Purdue here.
This takes us to the Sweet 16, and we get a great matchup: number 1 seed Arizona versus number 4 seed Arkansas. Just you couldn't really ask for anything better. This would probably be the best 1v4, like 1v5 matchup you could see, in my opinion. This is just like basically the hottest team versus quote unquote the best team, depending on who you ask in the country. I think I'm gonna have to lean Arizona here. As much as that scares me.
So not to be contradictory, but Duke, Kansas would also go hard. Like
Yes, but I think this would be a better game. I think.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm gonna lean Arizona. I'm gonna lean the depth, the impact depth, the stupid thing I've coined, and the great guard play they have to kind of be able to match what Acuff can do. So
They're just better.
Yeah.
Arizona's just better. I think Arizona, along with Duke, is just. For me, it feels like a lock to be a Final Four team, because for Arizona, it's different. They're very deep and have a lot of guys that can impact the game, but it's a lot of star power. I loved the way that they battled through the Big 12 tournament as
Agreed.
well. It clearly showed like they are built for a tournament,
and that's something Arizona has not necessarily been.
Yeah,
That they've not done in a while. Like that's kind of the one knock, or maybe if you don't want to pick Arizona, is I don't even know the last time they've been to a Final Four. They lost to Princeton as a 2 seed a couple years ago in the first round. So that's a
with
good
DeAndre
sign. I agree.
Ayton. They lost in the first round to Buffalo.
Yeah.
They have struggled in the tournament for many years. I think this team is ready for that.
Sure.
And I think they'll get it done against Arkansas in the Sweet 16.
Yep, that's what I would pick as well.
Perfect. And then that takes us down to the bottom side in the Sweet 16 matchup between 6 seed BYU versus 2 seed Purdue. I do think this is where the loss of Richie Saunders gets BYU, and Purdue advances to the Elite Eight, in my opinion.
I just realized I put in the wrong. I was like, why are we talking about BYU's? Because I put the wrong team in.
Because they're goated. Shout out BYU. Shout out the Cougars. But I'm taking Purdue. I think the DeBonsa run ends there.
He'll have like a 30-piece and a loss or something.
Yep, I agree.
Cool. And then that takes us to the Elite Eight matchup between Arizona and Purdue. And this is where I really think that Purdue can no longer overcome the hurdle of the lack of kind of rim protection and their lack of elite defense. And I think this is a game where Arizona can kind of feast. We talked about them feasting against Long Island. It obviously won't be that level. But I think this is a game where you could see like a plus 10 at least rebounding margin for Arizona. And they can kind of, I think it's a really bad matchup for Trey Kaufman-Renn, which then puts even more on the table for Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer. And so I think this is where it ends for Purdue. I got Arizona making the Final Four.
Yeah, now Arizona had a good matchup versus Houston because of Houston's lack of size. But even against Iowa State, I just loved the way Koa Pete played and Krivas. That's how you say his last name?
Yes, I believe so.
And Awaka especially. I thought they just played phenomenal. And those are, a lot of people would argue they're third, fourth, fifth best players. So for them to play as well as they did, I feel like this team is really dangerous. And it is just built for really any kind of battle. Purdue, I don't think is up to the test for that. I like Arizona.
All right, let's move to the bottom right.
Yep, the last region before we then pick our Final Four. And this is the Midwest region, headlined by the 1 seed Michigan, who have lost, I believe, 3 games all season. And they will face a familiar darling, either in the UMBC. Are they the Terriers? No, they're the Golden Retrievers. Or Howard. Regardless, I don't think either of those teams really have a shot just with the talent and size and physicality Michigan displays.
3.
They've lost 3, correct. Yep. Cool. So I got Michigan advancing. No repeat for the Golden Retrievers.
Yeah, I like Michigan as well. Dusty May's always done very well in the tournament as well. So I like Michigan to avoid any kind of upset.
Yeah, Michigan is my second best team in my power rankings behind the team that I will pick to win the championship. And they are top 5 in every metric except for defense, which they're 23rd in. So they're still good at defense.
Yeah.
But they are elite at everything else.
That's surprising. They are the number 1 rated defensive team per KenPom.
Really?
But you've got them 23rd
in that feature.
I am gonna caveat. I think it's right, but I'm having some parts that are breaking, so maybe that part broke as well. I'll have to take a dive. I'm just saying things that I might not even support myself. We'll find out.
Just blame it on the shaman if you want.
No. I take accountability for my actions here on this show.
Okay.
But I will pick Michigan.
Cool. Well, Michigan advances then. The 8 versus 9 in this region is 8-seeded Georgia versus 9-seeded St. Louis. The Billikens, headlined by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Model of St. Louis.
Does not surprise me. My worry about St. Louis personally is they faltered a little down the stretch. I'm pulling up their schedule right now, so bear with me.
Yeah, 2 losses to Dayton.
Mm-hmm.
Dayton was a team just on the bubble, including a loss in the conference tournament to Dayton.
They went 4-4 in their last 8 games.
Yeah.
Not really what I want to see from a mid-major that theoretically plays a bit of an easier schedule. I'd kind of like them to coast into the tournament and kind of re-emphasize and enforce that they're playing their best ball. And then they match Georgia, a team that is pretty long and athletic, can hit a lot of shots. I'm interested to watch the Sumpto Surreal versus Kareem Abdul-Jabbar matchup, which I'm literally Robbie Avila is his actual name.
Yeah.
For a second, I was like, I literally can't think of him as anything else. But that should be a really fun inside matchup to watch in terms of crazy athlete and physical presence in Sumpto Surreal versus kind of the more finesse footwork guy that is Robbie Avila.
The darling.
Correct.
In a lot of people's hearts.
I am very glad we get to watch him in the tournament because he was going to come a couple years ago and then hurt himself.
Yep.
And that really sucks. So it should be a great game. I'm probably leaning Georgia here. I'm just going to kind of look at that last 4-4 stretch from St. Louis, and that's going to be enough to keep me from picking them. But they are a fun team, and I will be excited to watch this game.
Yeah, Georgia got a win to close out their SEC play against Alabama at home. So they are playing well. Lost their first tournament game in the SEC tournament, if I'm not mistaken.
I also will be using my veto to pick Georgia because I think this is Sanders' veto pick.
No, it's not.
Dang, so I just wasted it. Oh well. I'm
Well,
wondering who your veto
also-
pick is then.
Technically, I hadn't. What did you? Who did you pick? You picked.
I'm gonna pick Georgia.
So I guess I technically can't veto, but
yeah,
I'm
you
trying
couldn't
to
technically
trump.
have
I'm just trying to
vetoed
trump.
it.
Well,
So
then I still have my veto.
You still
Perfect.
have your veto technically. I will pick St. Louis, but it doesn't matter because y'all both picked Georgia.
I wonder who your
I
veto
could
would
use my
be.
veto here.
We're all saving it. Oh boy.
I will not.
That's why I'm trying to hop it. Like all three of us have it, and so I'm really interested to see where someone's trying to pull it at.
Yeah, I got my eyes on that Tennessee State game. Yeah,
Yeah.
big Tennessee State guy.
That is okay.
Santa Clara. That's what I thought. I mean, St. Louis has a win over a conference team, over a NCAA tourney team, Santa Clara, and we're over here not voting for them. That's crazy.
Yeah, because they lost to Rhode Island and George Mason and George Washington and then Dayton twice in their last 8 games. So
Wait. Yeah. Okay. Never mind. Hey, Dayton is sometimes good at basketball. We got to keep that in mind. Okay, Georgia, and then we can move on.
yes, this brings us to our 5 versus 12 in the Midwest region. Number 5 seed Texas Tech versus 12 seed Akron. Couple things to note: we have yet to pick a 12 seed to win, and that's typically like you always want to pick one. This is also going to be a pretty popular pick. Akron's a team that is quite good out of the MAC in terms of like they've kind of run the MAC in recent years. So this is not a thing where like a 7 seed out of the MAC, went on a run and won it or anything. They're good. They have tournament experience, even if it's not led to wins yet. As well as Texas Tech is their best player, JT Toppin, tore his ACL about a month ago, or a little less than a month ago. So he's out. Christian Anderson is an elite point guard. I love him so much. But at this point, they've become a team that is very reliant on the three-point shot. I have the numbers as I troll down. Yeah, they're top 10 in three-point attempts per game. That's basically how they're gonna live or die by the three right now. The lack, just no Toppin. That was their post player, their inside scoring presence. So that's scary for them. They have shown in a couple games that they have enough shooters and they have enough dogs and they'll play good enough defense that they can win big games without him. But I think they've lost some of that kind of consistency. Them from being a consistently like great team to now they're just a sometimes great team. That being said, I still am going to pick them to beat the Zips. I'll trust in my boy Christian Anderson to get the job done.
Yeah, Akron is 0-4 versus tournament teams. Losses at Purdue, to Yale at home, and then at Miami of Ohio and at Troy. I like, shout out CT, Texas Tech and the Red Raiders to win this game. I think Akron's going to be a very popular pick. And while we should pick a 12 seed, I'm still going to take Texas Tech here.
Is that Troy game in the middle of conference play?
Yeah.
Odd. Very odd.
I mean, Duke, Michigan played
That's true.
almost
Okay.
halfway through their
State
conference
State
play.
doesn't do that. State does not have high profile. I feel like they don't. Maybe I'm just not remembering it.
It's a very un-SEC team thing, I feel like, because even the Big Ten will do this thing where they'll play a couple conference games, and then it's almost like they're like, okay, now that we got our feet wet, we play 2 non-conference games, and then we're like, we finish out the rest with conference play.
Interesting.
I don't know why, but
In the video game, you're allowed to schedule 3 games in between conference play, non-conference games.
interesting.
So I don't know what the rule is in real life, but
I will also go Texas Tech. Although it is close, my model technically have this as a push. It'd be 0, but Texas Tech I think has a slight edge, like in the decimals. So we'll give it to them.
Yeah, I will say Akron has a guy named Shama Scott, which is pretty cool. And this could be a good matchup for them because their tallest guy is 6'7". Like their tallest guy that plays, not even their tallest guy that starts. Their tallest guy that gets at least 10 minutes is 6'7". So maybe that helps Texas Tech because the lack of Toppin doesn't come back to bite them. But maybe it's Akron. The fact we don't have a big guy doesn't matter because like Toppin would feast here, but he's not here.
Yeah.
So we can move on though. I'm rambling. Next one, and this one got very spicy today all of a sudden. But it's 4-seeded Alabama versus 13-seed Hofstra. And I would say the biggest news that's broken today is that Aiden Holloway got arrested with over a pound of weed
Yep.
and a couple other things
But
as
no
well.
tax stamp,
Yeah,
whatever that means.
whatever that means. Regardless, he's
I don't
been
know
removed from campus and is not on the team while the investigation is going on. and so it just seems like he's not going to play this week. And I believe he's their second leading scorer.
He is.
And so while I'll just go and say it right now, I still have Alabama winning this game. I think
Yep.
LeBaron Philon and the rest of the team can get it done. This really becomes a concern down the stretch of the tournament, especially. A couple
Yeah.
things about Hofstra. Their coach's name is Speedy Claxton, and he's a Hofstra alum. He played at Hofstra.
Sick.
But fire name. And then their leading scorer is Cruz Davis, who's a 20-point-per-game scorer, shoots 40% from three. So that's what I got.
I'm just looking at the other 5 seeds. Wisconsin, St. John's.
You mean other 4 seeds?
No, I'm just looking at so for Alabama, Texas Tech not having JT Toppin, is that the best 5 seed they could pull for a right? So
I think most definitely. We picked
Yeah.
Vanderbilt to be
yeah,
Yes, I would agree.
right
And
there
so-
in the Elite Eight.
Alabama, you might be optimistic and say, well, once they figure the legal things out and maybe appeals and Alabama knows their way around courts and stuff.
I don't know. Over a pound of weed is pretty
Yeah,
bad.
no, I'm just
In cash.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it was recreational use.
Yeah.
at
That's
that
what
point.
that's
That
what a
is
bunch
tough.
of people have said. They're like, "Oh, I can't believe you're still arresting people for a little bit of weed." And people are like, "A pound of weed is not a little bit of weed."
Well,
Because I'm right there with you. When people get pulled over and like players get arrested, and it's like they had
they're gonna
a
be
gram
back.
of weed.
Yeah, they're
it's
gonna
like,
be back.
okay, whatever. This is like a Tony Mitchell type beat.
Yeah. Well, that was going to be my point. Is with the Texas Tech draw, maybe they get to the second weekend and then figure that out. But it sounds like they won't be figuring it out.
Sure.
But I guess you have an extra week to try and. I mean, they found out on Monday. They play. What day is their first game? 3/20 Friday.
This is
um,
Friday, yeah.
So
They get an extra day.
an extra day, and then you get hopefully you beat Texas Tech, and then you figure out how to game plan for theoretically Michigan.
They do
I'll
also-
just say the 1 seed.
They have a deeper backcourt.
Yeah.
Like if Cheryl or whatever their center's
Yeah.
name is, if he got busted, it'd be like, oh gosh, like they may just play 5 guards or like
Yeah,
a couple forwards.
They could go to Youngblood. If I'm not mistaken, Youngblood.
no,
right?
he's gone. He's on the he's been playing for OKC a little
okay.
bit,
That
but they have like Allen,
what was his name?
Latrell,
Wrightsrell. That was
yeah.
It was a double name. Wrightsrell. Who they could go to.
Yeah.
It is a double name.
It is right cell.
Wrightsell.
Oh wait, that's actually a double name. I thought
Yeah.
it was one word.
I mean, it's one.
It is
word,
one
but
word,
like
but like Youngblood.
2 syllables.
Wrightsell.
is that
compound word is what we're looking for.
I
Ted.
think
Oh, okay,
compound
okay,
word.
okay. Now I see.
Yeah,
You're over
yeah.
here
They're
saying
both
it's a double
compound
name.
words. No,
Okay.
compound words.
I was like, we're really calling 2 syllable names double
No,
names.
Sorry, compound.
makes a lot more
compound
sense.
names.
It is-
Hollow Way. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
double name
It's
as
an
well.
interesting thought. I think we're all on Alabama.
Yeah,
So-
my model has them at 5.5. So I'll go
I'm
Alabama.
vetoing using Hofstra.
Okay,
I was going to pick Hofstra as well.
So-
I like Cruz Davis.
so Hofstra advances.
I think Aiden Holloway being gone, big deal, big problem. And now it'll just be a battle of who's better, Cruz Davis or Labarion Philon on that day. And while Philon I really like, having seen him play in person this year, I think Hofstra gets it done and
Cool.
advances, beats the Crimson Tide.
See, I was going to
Sorry,
use.
Sanders.
No, I was going to use it to put in Hofstra. That's why I voted Alabama.
Too late.
What? I was just I don't need my veto anymore. Like, I was.
Yet another emotional hedge on his own team from
Oh
Sanders.
my
It's like
gosh.
it's his
Oh my
favorite move.
gosh.
It's his favorite move.
Oh man, I'd never want to quit podcasting more than when y'all call me an Alabama fan.
All right, next matchup: the 6 versus 11. 6 seed Tennessee versus either Miami of Ohio or SMU. I'm gonna lean SMU. Probably comes out. SMU did just sneak into the tournament, but they've been missing one of their better players down the stretch, and he should be back. So that should be a big boost. I think they can take care of Miami of Ohio. Call me a hater if you want. It's just how I feel.
My model thinks you're a hater.
Cool. Well, your model loves wins, so
Actually, the point spread has nothing to do with wins.
mm,
It has to do with how many points you score and how many points you give up.
Yeah, but that
and
means you won a lot
Miami.
of games.
Uh,
I just feel like your model does. Yeah, okay, never mind.
the model
We
has.
won't get into gripes with the model.
Yeah, this is a new model. New model.
We won't get
2.0.
in- we won't get
version
into gripes
2.0.
with the model.
Yeah, you can't get mad at the model.
Anyway, SMU, Kevin Boopy Miller, my boy Boopy Miller, elite name, 19 points per game scorer. Jaron Pierre, 18 point per game scorer. Then they have Samet Yigitolu, 7-2 guy, holding down the paint. The reason I'm talking a lot about SMU is because I'm a Rick Barnes hater, and I don't really love this version of a Tennessee team. And so I actually have SMU pulling the upset and beating Tennessee in the first round. Jacoby Gillespie is a very good guard. I'm a bit of a hater. He's not efficient enough for me, and he plays a little soft. He hasn't filled out his frame enough yet. And so I think the guards of SMU can get after Tennessee and score enough to win this game.
Yeah, I haven't liked a Tennessee team since Grant Peterson and Admiral Schofield were
Grant Williams.
Williams. Thank you, not Grant Peter. Who's that? That's the
Grant,
best.
It's a guy that went to
No.
Michigan State.
No. I swear it's a basketball.
I
okay.
don't know of a Grant Peterson.
Okay, never mind. Well, thank you, Grant Williams.
Grant, I'm gonna make them both. Williams.
Yes, and Admiral Schofield. I loved Admiral. That was a fun basketball team. That was very fun.
They had on the Tennessee orange,
Uh-huh.
so there was just no rooting for that team.
Well, I liked Admiral Schofield. The stories around there were really cool. But I'm down. I would go Miami, Ohio here, but I'll pick the 11 seed to get the upset. And then
Give me SMU to beat Miami, Ohio, and then
Cool.
to beat Tennessee.
Love to see we're all on the anti
did I just
Tennessee
combine
train.
Darren
so
Peterson and Grant Williams? Maybe that's what happened in my brain.
maybe.
Because I mean they're pretty similar tiers of players.
Sure. You do get that reference now. The Grant, I'm gonna make them both Williams.
Shout out Creed.
Next matchup, 3 seed Virginia. Shout out the Cavaliers in their first season under Ryan Odom. Will face off against the 14-seeded Wright State, who I don't know their mascot, a dog or wolf of some sort. Virginia is a great.
Looks like Balto. Is that his name?
Balto is a movie. Yes, that's pretty solid.
The Raiders.
Interesting. So okay,
Wow,
we were wrong.
that's a very misleading logo.
This is Virginia's first time in the tournament since the Tony Bennett teams, and so the first thing you'll notice is the pace is way up from Tony Bennett teams. And also they're top 10 in offensive rebounding percentage, and they're first in blocks per game. Onyenso, transfer from Kentucky, he's a top rim protector in college basketball. He kind of made his name in the NCAA or in the ACC tournament. He had a game with 8 blocks against Wake Forest, and he had 9 blocks in the championship game against Duke, and kind of shut down Cam Boozer. They're a very good defensive team. They're a pretty good offensive team. Tice DeRitter and Chance Mallory are 2 freshmen that have really popped for them. DeRitter's from Belgium. He's their leading scorer. They're a pretty fun team. I don't think they're anything special. They also played a very weak schedule and kind of lost some of their bigger games in terms of they lost to Duke both times, once by blowout, once close, and then they lost to North Carolina. Their best win is probably at Louisville, which is like, I'm not saying it's a bad win, but when that's your best win, there may be some questions about you just like kind of beat up on the teams you should beat up on, but you don't really have that elite gear. I guess we will see. Regardless, I think this team is good enough to beat Wright State. And I think they play sound enough basketball to handle Wright State. I'm not too worried about an upset here.
I would agree with that 100%.
Yeah, I like the Cavs as well.
Cool.
I think they'll make a deep run.
Interesting 7 versus 10 matchup here. 7-seeded Kentucky, kind of the disappointment of the SEC, versus 10-seed Santa Clara. Out of the WCC, and it's their first tournament appearance in like 30 years.
Yeah.
So big deal for them. One I've really struggled with because
They did it as an at-large, too, which
Yes.
is just incredible.
very, very impressive. I think they're a legitimately good team. And then this Kentucky team is just kind of like very Jekyll and Hyde, and it's mainly bad, but they do have some games where they look really good, or even a stretch of a game where they play like 7 minutes and you can see the vision and the talent really pops. But for the most part, they just look pretty disjointed, can't get it done. So I'm any leans? You could either maybe
I have
y'all
my
three all
lean.
talking helps me out.
Go ahead, Sanders.
My model has Santa Clara's half-point favorites.
No, there you go.
So I would lean Santa Clara here. It's also apparently I was listening to some people break the bracket down this morning to get ready for this, and they also were all talking about Santa Clara being the fan favorite, the exciting upset pick. So I mean, I'll be interested to see, and I do feel like Kentucky kind of has that. a opportunity for like create disappointment in them, like just because they've disappointed all season, not living up to the expectations, not living up to the budget. And so it wouldn't surprise me at all to see them do that one more time this season.
Sure.
I like the Wildcats of Kentucky. I think they are built like an SEC kind of team, and I think that'll be enough to beat this Santa Clara team. I watched Santa Clara play against Gonzaga in the WCC championship. I thought Santa Clara shot the ball better than I would have expected, and yet they still lost by 11 to Gonzaga. I think Kentucky's better. I like Ortega Owe to have a really good day, and the Wildcats to advance.
I think I'm on Kentucky too, and I don't think it'd necessarily be pretty, but Owe will kind of. Sometimes watching him feels like he's just banging his head against the goalpost over and over again. You know, like he just bang his head into a brick wall, but then he still finishes with like 24 points. And so I think they'll get enough out of him and a couple other pieces to win this game. Spoiler, I don't really expect him to go much further, though. Last game of the round of 64 in the Midwest region, Iowa State versus Tennessee State. This is a fantastic Iowa State team, and it's kind of their now or never year. Justin Jefferson is old. Tamim Lipsey's old. Momcilovic, their great shooter, shooting like 49% from three. He's a junior. And while it's also their now or never season, it's not like it's also now or never because they have the talent and the chops to make a really good run. So it's not like an unfair now or never statement, I guess. And with that being said, I've picked them to comfortably beat Tennessee State.
Likewise.
Yeah, same. And I'm not using my veto. Harris, I'm not sure if he's daring me to use the veto for the Kentucky-Santa Clara game,
That's definitely what he's talking about.
which
Definitely.
I feel very bad for him because he has like the worst relationship with Kentucky men's he like hates Kentucky men's basketball.
They're not a very fun team to watch most times this year.
Yeah. No, like he has for as long as I've known. Maybe like 3 or 4 years ago he was a fan, but he just like he would much rather watch Kentucky women's basketball.
Well, that's fair. It is really interesting to become a Kentucky fan and hate your best sport.
Correct.
But here we are.
But
it's also
also
very
you
interesting
could
to just choose to be a Kentucky fan in general.
But also maybe he's emotionally hedging because if you're going to get let down by a team, it's probably going to be the men's basketball team because they have the highest expectations.
Maybe.
And they have not lived up to those expectations since 2012.
I mean, they've had a couple good runs. The Malik Monk, De'Aaron Fox year was fire.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll go Iowa State
Cool.
and will not use my veto on Tennessee State, which means that me and Jack both leave. Can we save our vetoes for next year?
No, they do not stack, unfortunately.
Okay.
Round of 32, first matchup, 1-seeded Michigan versus 8-seeded Georgia. I think this Michigan team is just so good. Maybe down the line, the loss of L.J. Kaysen, kind of their backup point guard and backup ball handler, will hurt them. I don't think this is this matchup. At least in the first couple rounds, I honestly just think their front court can carry them. Day Mara, Yaxel Lindenborg, Morez Johnson. Even if maybe their guard play isn't elite, I don't think that comes into question yet. I like them to beat Georgia.
Yeah, I just don't think Michigan's going to struggle against a team like Georgia.
Yeah.
And so I just don't see a world where Georgia is in a tight competitive game unless Blue Kane is going to be a March hero, that would be phenomenal.
That would be cool.
That would be really cool. Blue Kane, everyone's All-American. I'll take Michigan and go blue.
Cool.
Same.
Next matchup then. 5-seed Texas Tech versus 13-seed Hofstra. I like Texas Tech here. It was going to be an interesting spot. Pre-veto of like Texas Tech has a big hole. Alabama has a big hole. I don't really feel great about either of these teams, but I have to pick one. So honestly, shout out the veto, JP, because it makes this position a little easier for me. Even without Toppin, I think there's enough talent and shooting on that Tech team, and they're well enough coached that they can beat Hofstra and get to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, likewise. No disagreements.
Yep. Cool. Is the mouse good?
Let me
To
check.
be determined. Next matchup then, which is technically it's Miami of Ohio or SMU versus Virginia in the round of 32. 3-seeded Virginia, 11-seeded SMU remind me of Ohio. We actually have seen the SMU and UVA matchup this season already.
Yeah, known ACC matchup.
Known ACC matchup, and SMU lost at home 72-68 to Virginia. So a close game. I think it would be a close game again. I think I will ride with Virginia. I think they're built to be a little more steady and a little more consistent than the SMU team. Even if maybe the SMU team, their guards, their guard trio roll in and just kill Virginia on a great shooting night. I'll trust the size and defense of Virginia to get the win here.
Yeah, I really like Virginia. I noted when you had done your little March preview that I hadn't watched many Virginia games, and I've now since watched a couple of Virginia games, and I really do like the way they play.
Hard part about watching Virginia is they really didn't play very many great games to
who's
watch.
Who's the ball guy?
Oh my gosh, what is his name?
I
Hold
couldn't
on.
remember his name either, but the confidence that he brings off the bench to just shoot the ball whenever is something I really admire. It shows a lot of, confidence for a bench player to come off the bench and then shoot the ball like that and take the shots he takes. Jakari White.
Yeah.
It shows the confidence that is built in that entire team. It's the confidence you have in your teammate. It's the confidence your coach has in you to say, hey, this is what you're good at. Go do it.
43% from 3 on 5 attempts a game.
43% from 3. Like you said, 5 attempts from 3 off the bench. That's a lot. I just love this the way this team is composed and put together.
Sure.
I think Virginia would get it done at a rematch versus SMU.
Well, Virginia's moving on regardless, Sanders, but do you have anything you'd like to add to
No,
the analysis?
that's who I would have picked as well. So
Great. That leads us to our last round of 32 matchup here, and it's 7-seeded Kentucky versus 2-seeded Iowa State. I raved about this Iowa State team, and I kind of dogged on the Kentucky team despite picking them. And so I think it's pretty clear my pick here is Iowa State. I think their shooting, their defense, kind of their veteran presence is like the opposite of Kentucky. Like I feel pretty good. I know what I'm going to get from Iowa State, and I don't know what I'm going to get from Kentucky at all. So I'll take the consistent team and just the better overall team, too, in Iowa State to advance.
Yeah, it feels like if we were in a year where the 1 seeds felt weaker, which we haven't been for now 2 straight years, Iowa State would have a really fighting chance to be a 1 seed.
Yeah.
I'll take the Cyclones as well over Kentucky.
Cool. Do you have anything you'd like to add?
no, I mean we know the Cyclones. We lost to them. They're a very very good basketball team, and if they
Yeah.
win it all, then we can claim that we lost the national champions. So
This is true.
you
This-
could argue that we're the. Wait,
And
how many?
if LIU wins it all, we could argue that we beat the national champions,
True.
along with many SEC teams. But
That one, but most notably.
yes,
We finished like 18 losses, something like that.
yeah, I think so.
So there's an
13,
argument
18.
that we're the 19th best team in the country if we lose to Iowa. If
Could be,
if
yeah.
Iowa State wins it all, we might be the 19th best team in the country.
Possibly. That takes us to Sweet 16 matchup, 1-seeded Michigan versus 5-seed Tech. And I do think this is where the loss of Toppin would really hurt against that
Yeah.
Michigan front court. I think it'd be a really bad matchup, and it'd be a great matchup for Michigan. I think they would love this path to the Elite Eight.
Mhm.
And so I'll take Michigan in this matchup. Kind of no sweat, to be honest.
Yeah, Michigan's got 3 bigs they can go to, and Texas Tech doesn't have their best one. I'm all over the Wolverines as well.
Good with that, Sanders?
Yep.
Are you picking the stunner Texas Tech?
No,
Shout out
I am.
CT.
I am not. I like I said have all 4 1 seeds in my Final Four. As much as I hate it, that's
What
just kind of
happened?
it's kind of how it is.
It's been a very chalky region, but this is to 3-seeded Virginia versus 2-seed Iowa State. What would be a fantastic matchup? I feel like a real chess match. A lot of great, smart players, 2 good coaches.
Yep.
Um,
Both teams got a foreign guy who's a baller.
Exactly.
Lead the team in scoring.
I think I'd lean Iowa State here. I think their ceiling is a little higher than Virginia's, especially their offensive ceiling. I think they just have some guys that, like, if it gets down to a close game, and I think this game would be close, there's guys I trust on Iowa State to create shots and make shots, and I think that's my one qualm with Virginia. I've seen it at a couple moments, even looking at the Duke game in the ACC title game.
Yeah.
There was kind of some. It didn't look like they were crazy comfortable in the clutch, and maybe it's just because they were playing one of the best defensive teams in the country. But it was a lot of tough ISO stuff, a lot of kind of turnaround jumpers in the clutch, not really fantastic looks. So I think I trust Iowa State there more, so I'll pick them.
Yeah, I thought the offensive sets that Iowa State ran down the stretch against Arizona for Milan, their leading scorer, who was having a great day shooting the ball. The sets that they ran to get him open, because by the time he's made his fourth three, you're like, yeah, we should start guarding him more closely. And then he still finds 4 more open looks that he makes, and ends up with 8 threes in that game. I like them down the stretch of a game as well, over Virginia. I'll take the Cyclones to advance to the Elite Eight, and that's our only. No, that's our second 1-2 matchup at this point.
Yes. All 1 seeds have advanced so far to the Final Four, and we'll see if this is any different. Elite Eight in the Midwest region: 1 seed Michigan versus 2 seed Iowa State. Be a fantastic matchup. Both undoubtedly top 8 teams, no duh. I mean, they're 1 and 2 seeds, but like, I don't think at all Iowa State's a weak 2 seed. I think they're a fantastic 2 seed. Just only so many teams can be 1 seeds, kind of like what JP was talking about earlier. I think this is maybe where try and make a bit of a read. I think I have Iowa State winning this game. My one concern with that, and why I probably really shouldn't do it, is I think Iowa State center Blake Buchanan is the guy that can get pushed around a little bit. He's not the biggest of frames.
Agreed.
But I'm just going to trust the shooting of Iowa State to carry through that. And maybe he holds down the fort enough. And like Justin Jefferson, he's not crazy tall, but he's a big physical body. He could guard someone like Yaxel, I think. But I'll take Iowa State to pull off a semi-upset. I mean, they're a 2 seed over 1, but
Yeah, you'd be in the minority with that. 2.6 million people have picked Michigan to the Final Four already.
Jeez.
And only 900,000 have picked Iowa State to the Final Four, and these are the 1-2. So you would 100% be in the minority there. Sanders, do you lean anywhere?
I'm leaning Michigan. I will lean the 1 seeds winning out and giving us a chalked Final Four. But that leaves it to you to decide if we do have that.
Well, we do have Illinois in the Final Four.
Oh, excuse me. You're right.
Yeah,
right.
I misspoke. I apologize. I
You're
said,
good.
I said
But
we had
all
other
4
ones, so-
1 seed have made the Elite Eight for us. I'm going to go with Iowa State. I thought with it's hard to find a way to close out a season on a loss and still feel so good and hot about your team.
Yeah.
And they did that in the Big 12 semifinal against Arizona, losing on a buzzer beater. So I'll take the Cyclones. I don't think this Michigan team is built to win a championship.
I don't think the
do
guard
think
play is
they're
good enough.
built to be a Final Four, but yeah, like you said, the guard play just isn't good enough. We've seen size dominate a way to a championship, but I just don't think if you're going to pick a size team, you pick Duke with Cameron Boozer, or maybe even Arizona with their 3 bigs over Michigan. And that's no slight to Yaxel Hindenburg or Michigan. I just think Iowa State would get this done here. I think they've got enough and better guard play as well. So give me the Cyclones to face Arizona in a rematch and yet another semifinal in the Final Four.
All right. So to our Final Four.
Yeah, and we'll kind of flip back to the other side first and look at Duke, Illinois. Tough task for Illinois' offense. The group that I love so much. I don't know. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse. We talked about these teams numerous times already. I think I'd have to take Duke here. As much as I talked about how much I'm falling in love with this Illinois team, it just feels like the safer pick off that defense, and they just win. And Cam Boozer is the reason for that, and he'll still be around, and I expect him to have another great game there. I don't think the Ivisic brothers are kind of a duo that can slow him down, so I'll take Duke.
Yeah, I'm going to take Duke as well. I think they're destined to be a Final Four team, and I think once they make the Final Four, they're good enough, I think, to make it to the national championship as well. I'll take Duke and the Blue Devils over the Illini.
I will also take Duke. I'm not going to spoil it till the national championship.
Oh, yeah,
but,
yeah. We already know the answer.
I like Duke. I like Duke a lot.
Just
Let's
a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Who doesn't?
UNC fans. Most
True.
of the ACC fans. On the flip side, we have 1 seed Arizona versus 2 seed Iowa State, a rematch of the Big 12 tournament semifinal game, and a game that we've referenced a lot because it's just a great data point for both these teams. And I think I'm going to have to go Arizona because watching that game, it really felt like they got Iowa State's best punch and still won. Just with the way Iowa State shot the ball and how hot Momcilovic was and everything that they were doing, and Arizona still won. So that just makes me feel pretty confident that they could do it again.
Yeah, they not only won, but like Braden Burries didn't really play the last 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And like you said, best punch is a great way to put it. They had already played Iowa State earlier in the year, just not even 2 weeks prior. At Arizona, they'd won by 16. I think they're a better matchup for this Iowa State team, and I do think Arizona makes it to the national championship. And then for me personally, I think we'd have the two best teams playing each other for the national title.
I don't disagree with that. I'd be very happy with this matchup. I'd be ecstatic to watch this matchup. We'll let Sanders start because I think we all know where Sanders is at with this national championship game of 1-seeded Duke versus 1-seeded Arizona. Well, he's relying heavily on his model, and so which team does the model like / which team do you like? And you've kind of hinted at not spoiling who it was.
I mean, I think I have spoiled
correct.
it. I've hinted at it and given it away. I would pick Duke here.
Sure.
This team is fantastic. Like I said, they rank top 5 in most of my metrics, top 10 in most of the others, and then that's just where they sit in all of them. So they are an outstanding team. They're a deep team. They're a talented team. They're a well-coached team. And so I feel like that just feels like a very easy pick. I picked them last year, and they disappointed. Mont, I don't think he's still in the chat, but he told me earlier not to pick. I can't even remember what he said. He said something very like they're bad at something. It was a term I didn't recognize, so I don't know if he just made it up or if it's a basketball phrase I haven't heard. Jack, it was in the Be Real comments. Did you see it?
No, I didn't.
He said something like, "Oh, don't pick them. It's a bad." I think it had the word efficiency in it, but it was not in a context I'd ever seen.
I think Mott was just.
I think he's just rattling my chain.
I do remember kind of reading it, but I'm pretty sure it was word vomit. I'm not gonna lie.
But Duke has only lost 2 games all season. They're my number 1 team coming into the tournament. They've been my number team for several weeks now, and I'm gonna stick with them through the tournament.
You said real bad effective leverage.
That's what it was.
So yeah, I'm gonna go with that is not a real thing.
That's a football thing. That's a running game leverage. That's what I was thinking about.
Yeah.
It feels like a matchup that we've been waiting to see in a national championship Final Four type setting for like a long time because both of these programs have been really, really good. They have played each other a lot. They played each other in the tournament last year. Duke won.
Yeah.
They also played each other in a home and home the past 2 seasons. Duke won at Arizona, but Arizona and Caleb Love had beaten Duke the year prior. So they've played each other a couple times for the past few years, John Shire and Tommy Lloyd. So they're familiar with each other. That being said, they reload on freshmen every year, so it's very different teams. So it would be a very fascinating game.
Yeah.
It's like the ship of Theseus.
It is like the ship of Theseus.
If Arizona plays Duke every year and Arizona players stay and Duke changes the roster every season, is it really like the same matchup? It's not.
At least the coaches for now stay the same.
I'm going to take Arizona. I think they
Down to Jack.
are the
Just
best
how I
team
wanted it.
in college basketball. And I say that I'm going to say that again. I think they're the best team in college basketball. Not that they have the best player. I
Sure.
think Cameron Boozer is the best player. But I think they have the best team in college basketball. I think they're really well built. They're really well put together. They got a lot of ways they can beat you. And I loved seeing the effectiveness of their front court, knowing that that's not even their best 2 players. And none of their best 2 players are in their front court. I think that they would be a great matchup for Cameron Boozer. They'd have the size to match up with him. They'd have the rebounding. They'd have think an important thing, the scoring to potentially put him in foul trouble, as good as he is defensively. You could see a game where he gets into foul trouble. I think of like Duke when they played North Carolina in the Final Four in New Orleans, when Mark Williams got 2 fouls in the first 4 minutes and then didn't play the rest of the first half.
Yeah.
And it really affected them in that game. I think that could maybe happen in a game like this for Cam and Boozer. So give me the Wildcats.
Yeah.
Down to you, Jack.
The pressure's now on as well because Hip Hams in the chat has said, I decide if the bracket is perfect or not.
Tell you what, we'll submit 2 brackets, one with each team winning.
Nope. I'm going to Arizona. I love what JP said of emphasizing it's the best team. And I've talked about kind of how many guys they have that can just take over and win games for you and swing games. And I just think that's going to be overwhelming. And they can handle Cam Boozer as much as anyone can handle Cam Boozer. And then from there, just kind of down the roster, I think their players are better. It'd be a great game. It'd be a close game, but I take Arizona to win this one and kind of shake a bit of what feels like a semi-curse or like an unlucky stretch in the tournament. And that is who Technical Foul has winning it.
Yep.
Jointly. Fire. Only 3.5 hours.
I'm honestly okay with that.
We picked up the pace big time.
We did.
In a bit of a conscious decision, and as we were halfway through at a little over 2 hours. And
Let's see how many people. We had like 3 or 4 people in the bracketology group earlier.
we can see who people are picking.
Yeah. Like I said, I picked Duke. Duke is my favorite.
Fantastic pick.
Yeah. Duke is my favorite going into the tournament. And it's one of those things where they were arguably, I'm not going to say the best team because they lost. They were a fantastic team last year and they lost. Oh, okay. So people have not filled out their brackets. They've just joined.
Gotcha. Well, anyone in the chat that is listening, if y'all real quick want to throw out who you have winning it all, and we can kind of rattle them off, and then we can get out of here at 3.5 hours.
Yep. Also, real quick breaking news, a 4-star transfer edge rusher just announced he's visiting Mississippi State. He's a transfer from Baylor who was committed to a different school. I don't remember where off the top of my head. And was declared academically ineligible and then had an appeal and is now looking to find his future home. Hold up. I just saw. Originally committed to Virginia Tech from Baylor, transferring from Baylor, 4-star edge rusher. Deemed academically ineligible and then has been granted an appeal. And I have liked way too many tweets. I have liked 45.4 thousand tweets.
That's insane.
That's crazy to think about.
Genovison003 says he has Duke winning it.
Good call. Good call.
We'll give another minute, see if anyone else chimes in. I have a trivia question for y'all, I guess, while we wait. Out of all the Power Conference Texas teams, and y'all should get this pretty easy. I just kind of want to rag on a team real quick. Only one team didn't make the NCAA tournament.
Out of all of the Power 4 this year,
Yes.
is Baylor?
Yeah, Baylor didn't make it.
Yeah.
So, LOL, Baylor.
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 Still bitter. Hold up. I'm going to see if I can get it to. Still bitter State did not pull off the upset last year. We tried. We did our very best.
Sure.
But, future, top 5 pick?
Yeah, he went third.
Yeah.
Cool.
Future top 3 pick was too much to handle.
I was waiting to see if Hip Hams would get one in here, but we'll wrap it up.
Yeah,
there.
I think one of the 3 viewers is JP anyway. So JP, if you want to drop it in the chat, who you're picking?
I'm picking Arizona.
Are you when you fill out your bracket? You think you're gonna have Arizona?
I think so. I think I'll have Duke Arizona again, the title.
Okay.
I've done it twice now. I did it once by myself last night, and then this. And
It
that
would
stayed
be.
the same.
It's against logic because of no one is one west of whatever the line is.
Does Arizona meet the top 12
Yeah.
in week 5?
They're
or
a tier
4?
1 national title contender,
Okay.
as is Duke, as is Michigan, as is Iowa State, as is Purdue, as is Houston.
Cool. So we chose correctly. At least
Yep.
not flawed logic or precedent-wise. But anyway, thanks for everyone who tuned in. Yet another fun show. I can't. I mean, we're just going to continue to break this down over the coming weeks and break down
Yeah.
matchups, players.
We'll
continue rolling.
probably do.
We'll quickly figure out how this, how our bracket bombed and gets
Yeah.
ripped apart.
We'll probably fall into like Monday night. We'll be like, okay, what happened? And then Thursdays will be, oh, what are we excited to see? Like, even
Well-
not like full episodes, but like 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, I didn't know if we would. Yeah, I don't know how we handle it because also we'll still want to do some draft stuff, and also
True,
we'll
true.
be our patterns go live Thursday afternoon, but there's games on, so I didn't know how we wanted to handle
Watch
that
along with the
Um,
boys.
or what, but we'll figure that out and get back to y'all. But anyway, once again, thanks for tuning in. Hope you all enjoyed. Thanks for everyone who participated and hung out in the chat, and we'll be back for y'all in some form and fashion on Thursday. Peace.
See ya.